You are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We survived the week, everybody, or at least nearly. Still got this big show between here and the quitting time, at least for many of you. And we are putting forth a good effort. We're not mailing it in this Friday. You know, sometimes Dom used to mail it in on Fridays. Not so much today. Dom's been downright enthusiastic and spry all week long. And Dom will join later in this big show in the 5 o'clock happy hour. I know many have been happy. My little buddy is back. Also, going to have another co-devil in the 4 o'clock hour, Bill McCoshen. I'm just done trying to title this man. He's just a Republican buddy of mine. We're going to talk some politics on the air today. He was a Republican buddy of the 4-term Tommy Thompson. He was his chief of staff. And, you know, look him up. Tommy did some things. So anyways, we got Bill, we got Dom, we've got airing of the grievances. It's Friday. That's what we do here. 844-967-2789. And the phone lines, normally I don't take them right away. Today, we're going to consider taking the phone calls. And I'm especially speaking to our friends listening on AM 950, KTNF up in Minneapolis. Because there is some breaking news at this hour. This just broke in the last, 45 minutes. Kim Potter, the cop, the former Minnesota police officer, you know, the one that drew her gun when she meant to draw a taser. And she fatally shot Dontre Wright during a traffic stop. Well, she was sentenced today 2 years. 2 years. Man's dead, 2 years. Now, we don't normally see the cops convicted. And 2 years doesn't quite feel like justice to me, but, you know, let's read on. This reporting from CNN. The sentence comes nearly 2 months after Potter was convicted of first and second degree manslaughter. So she was convicted on 2 counts. Prosecutors had requested 7 years and 2 months. While Potter's attorneys had argued, hard for me to argue with this mouth, argued for a lesser sentence, pointing to her lack of a prior criminal history and remorse. Certainly, I have no doubt she had remorse. Potter will be required to serve 2/3 of her sentence in prison or 16 months, according to state law. With good behavior, she will be eligible for supervised release for the remaining third. 16 months. Convicted, first and second degree manslaughter, trained, you know, left hand, right hand, taser goes in the non-dominant, non-shooting hand. And I've seen the video. We've all seen the video. You pay attention. You folks are newsy kind of folks. You've seen the video. I don't know that she meant to do that. Certainly, I don't think she meant to draw her service revolver and kill a guy. She did mean to tase him. She did call taser, taser, taser. And she did show, I would say, immediate remorse. Some for the victim, perhaps, but she didn't chase the victim. She felt like she was soon going to jail. I think she expressed as much. In justifying that, the Hennepin County judge is Regina Chu, called the sentence an extremely difficult decision. In justifying it, she pointed to several mitigating factors, saying it was undisputed that Potter never intended to use her gun, Apparently that was never presented at trial either. I don't think anyone thought she meant to do that. Chu told the court she took into account the 4 reasons for incarceration. 4 reasons, according to the judge: retribution, incapacitation, deterrence, and rehabilitation. I don't see him putting a lot of emphasis on that last one, but anyways, saying retribution would be the only purpose served in Potter's case. There rightfully should be some accountability, she said, but Potter is a cop who made a tragic mistake. She drew her firearm thinking it was a taser and ended up killing a young man. She called the case highly unusual, noting 2 other cases involving police tried in that court. The other officer cases tried in this court are distinguishable, she said, alluding to the cases of Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of murdering George Floyd, and Mohammed Noor, who was convicted in the death of Justine Rozchek. And I apologize on that name. This is not a cop found guilty of murder for using his knee to pin down a person for 9.5 minutes as he gasped for air, she said. This is not a cop found guilty of manslaughter for intentionally drawing his firearm and shooting across his partner and killing an unarmed woman who approached his squad. Wright's family was completely stunned by the sentence, their attorney Bencrupt said in a statement. While there is a small sense of justice because she will serve nominal time, the family is also deeply disappointed there was not a greater level of accountability, the statement said. The judge's comments at sentencing showed a clear absence of compassion for the victim in this tragedy, and were devastating to the family. Shortly before she was sentenced, and I don't know, those of you that listen here on the Devil Radio Network, you heard the AP News, the Associated Press played the remorseful Kim Potter, the soon-to-be sentenced defendant, speaking to the court. Shortly before she was sentenced, Potter tearfully apologized to Wright's family, saying, "I am so sorry that I brought the death of your son, father, brother, uncle, grandson, nephew, and the rest of your family. I'm sorry I broke your heart. I do pray that one day you can find forgiveness," the officer said, "only because hatred is so destructive to us all." Yeah. Potter's tears trump justice, Wright's mother said. And we are going to take your reactions to the sentencing decision in the case of Kim Potter, 2 years. That is the sentencing decision. And that means effectively about 16 months with good behavior. And the accused now convicted on 2 charges, first and second degree manslaughter. And of course, for those that, can't keep them all straight, let's just say, Kim Potter was the police officer that thought she drew her taser, but drew a sidearm and killed a man. This is a problem. Again, this is the mother, Wright's mother, Daunte Wright, the victim in this case. After Friday's hearing, Wright's mother told reporters her family was very disappointed with the sentence. This is the problem with our justice system today. White women's tears trumps justice. Katie Wright said she thought her own white women tears would be good enough, she said, because they're true and genuine. Wright's father similarly expressed his strong discontent with Potter's sentence. "I feel cheated. I feel hurt." They were so tied up into her feelings and what's going on with her, Aubrey Wright said, referring to Potter, that they forgot about my son being killed. Earlier Friday morning, Wright's parents, 2 siblings, and the mother of his child stood at the podium in court and urged the judge to impose the maximum possible sentence. Wright's mother said Potter was a police officer that took an oath to serve and protect for 26 years, but not on this day. On this day, she did not protect. She failed Daunte, our family, and our community. China Whitaker, the mother of Wright's son, Daunte Wright Jr., said in her own victim's impact statement that Potter had taken away her son's best friend. The 2-year-old doesn't fully understand his father's absence, but he senses it, she said. She sometimes finds her son staring at a poster of his father in his bedroom. And when shown photos or videos of Wright, the child smiles, she said, and says, Dada. The son shouldn't have to wear a rest in peace shirt of his dad, Whitaker said, asking for the maximum sentence. So the breaking news, 2 years is the sentence on 2 convictions and 16 months with time served. 8-4, well, more accurately, good behavior. 844-967-2789. If you want to react, call now. AM 950 listeners, KTNF. If you're calling from Minneapolis, we'll try to throw you to the top of the list, but you better start dialing. Once again, 844-967-2789. Kurt from West Dallas. Welcome, Kurt. What do you got for us?
I am so happy. 5:40 a.m. in Milwaukee. How awesome is that?
I think it's pretty awesome, Kurt. Pretty excited about the whole thing.
I'm really excited about it. I was flipping through the stations the other day. I'm like, oh, no way. Devil's Advocates have that on Milwaukee stations. All right.
Yes, sir. That's a pretty new advent. We came back. We're on WAUK 540 AM in, I guess that's technically, Waukesha, Milwaukee, and then 101 FM in the Shaw. And we're very proud of both signals. And I was down there talking to the Democratic Party very briefly. I wasn't scheduled speaker, but I took a brief opportunity to tell all the fine Democrats in Waukesha County about us last night. And I think most of them wrote it down, Kurt. Hopefully they put it on their cars as well.
I hope so too. I hope they start advertising with you guys too,
Kurt.
Because you got a big following. I mean,
well, I thought you were going to say a big mouth. Kurt, you got a quick Friday grievance for us before we roll to the break?
I do. I really feel bad that the police department all around the United States has gotten so racist. Not all of them, but some of them, and it's really shown. It would just happen in Minnesota again. That person, she should have got more time than that. It's just like the same thing that happened the other day in the mall.
And you think
they're not?
Kurt, you think this seemingly, I'm not going to call it an unjust sentence, but it's quite a light sentence relative to what the prosecutor sought. She got 2 years. They wanted 7 years. She'll be out in 16 months. You think race played a part in this sentence?
Oh yeah, most definitely. If they would have been shoes on the other foot, if it had been a black officer and a white young gentleman, oh yeah, you would have seen totally different.
Kurt, appreciate you listening. We're short on time. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. 844-967-2789.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a Friday afternoon, the weekend, setting you free, coming soon. We'll set you free right here. Join us, 844-967-2789. Before we talk about the thematic freedom, I want to update. We got some new breaking news in Trump's sphere. Another judge ruled against him. Shocker. You know, all their cases always have such strong merit. Also, if you'd like to join us, phone lines open, 844-967-2789. Newest out of Minnesota, Kim Potter, the cop that used her service revolver, thought she had a taser, was convicted on 2 counts of manslaughter. Well, she was sentenced today 2 years. Will serve approximately 16 months with good behavior. The prosecutor wanted 7 years, and the judge basically said the only purpose of this sentence is retribution. Well, the victim's family would have liked more retribution. So if you have a comment, you can certainly join us. Again, 844-967-2789. And here's the update in Trump world. Judge allows lawsuits against Trump for January 6th to go forward, but somehow decided to toss cases against Rudy and Fredo, Trump Jr., if you will, reporting from CNN. Civil lawsuits, again, civil lawsuits seeking to hold Trump accountable for the January 6th insurrection can move forward in court. Now, that's kind of a big deal. I'll tell you why. And the ex-president doesn't have absolute immunity from litigation, a federal judge ruled Friday. Now, Trump has been claiming, and you can imagine, I got immunity. He claims that the actions taken, of course, you know, he's the president. Trump's statements to his supporters before the attack on the U.S. Capitol, and here's the quote, is the essence of civil conspiracy, said Judge Mehta, M-E-H-T-A, more accurately wrote in a 112-page opinion, because Trump spoke about himself and rallygoers working towards a common goal of fighting and walking down Pennsylvania Avenue. Here's the quote from Mehta. The president's January 6th rally speech can reasonably be viewed as a call for collective action. That's what the judge is now saying. This in a civil case. Democratic members of the House and police officers who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th sued Trump. So this is the Democratic/cop lawsuit against Trump, claiming he prompted his supporters to attack Friday. Mehta wrote that the lawsuits could move to evidence gathering phase and towards a trial, a major loss in court for Trump. Oh, so sad for you, fella. To deny a president immunity from civil damages is no small step. This is the judge, Mehta, speaking in his decision. I'll repeat it so you hear it. To deny a president immunity from civil damages is no small step. The court well understands the gravity of its decision, but the alleged facts of this case are without precedent. No president has ever behaved so badly before. In essence, back to the decision of Judge Mehta. After all, the president's actions here do not relate to his duties of faithfully executing the laws, conducting foreign affairs, commanding the armed forces, or managing the executive branch. They entirely concern his efforts to remain in office for a second term. These are unofficial acts. So the separation of powers concerns that justify the president's broad immunity are not present here. Bring on the lawsuits is basically what the man's saying. The decision was issued in a trio of lawsuits filed after the January 6th Capitol breach, seeking to hold the former president and his allies accountable for the riot. I'd like to hear more about why the other allies weren't held accountable, but a little bit more here from CNN. when the Senate failed to convict Trump last year in the impeachment proceedings, examining his role in the attack. You remember what Mitch McConnell said? Who voted against convicting Trump. The minority leader McConnell voted against convicting Trump, but noted that civil litigation was the avenue through which Trump's conduct could be addressed. 2 of the lawsuits were brought by Democratic House members, while a third was filed by Capitol Police officers. The lawmakers alleged that they were threatened by Trump and others as part of a conspiracy to stop the congressional session that would certify the 2020 presidential election on January 6, 2021, according to the complaint. They argue that Trump should bear responsibility for directing the assault. And you get the point that the judge basically agrees with the contention of the plaintiffs, of the litigants here, at least enough to allow this trial to continue. Trump's legal team is likely to appeal the decision. Delay. That's all they ever do. You know, if your client's guilty, delay is not a bad tactic, which was made at the trial level, DC District Court. Representatives for Trump didn't immediately respond to requests for comments. Wait for Trump to drop some sort of ranting missive later, because he's not going to like this one. This is civil liability against the former president because his actions inciting a riot on January 6th, that's not defendable. That's not actions of a president upholding his oath to the Constitution. You don't have immunity in that circumstance. A little bit more here. Meta, again, the judge, also said that it's plausible the lawsuit could prove Trump entered into an agreement with the far-right groups and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who are criminally charged for conspiracy and also named in the lawsuit. Now, the judge saying you could talk about it is not the same as Trump being criminally complicit in their alleged crimes. But he is. He is. The news is tightening. Trump has not had a good headline in weeks. The freedom. We're actually playing the freedom from Rojo. It's got sort of a freedom notion in regards to the truckers up north. Talk about that. Come back, talk to you. It's Friday. We air the grievances. 844-967-2789.
Talk radio made for the 99%. Only on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
We all know Wisconsin's favorite cocktail. That's right, the Bloody Mary. And Wisconsin bar and restaurants are the best at it. And now it's time for a standoff. Who makes the best Bloody Mary? Find out who wins at Downdren's first annual Bloody Mary Fest on March 26th from 11 to 2 p.m. Taste Bloody Marys from up to 25 local bars and restaurants. And do it with your own custom tasting glass. It's Downdren's first annual Bloody Mary Fest. Enjoy music and purchase from local food trucks. March 26th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. To purchase tickets and to find out more, go to downdrensdistilling.com. You must be 21. Drink responsibly.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here. And Brooke Lopez here. I love being a champion. And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen. Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote. They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away. Don't let them do that. You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The sentence is 2 years in prison for former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter. She shot and killed Dante Wright, a black man, during a traffic stop. Before the sentence was read, Potter spoke to Wright's mother.
Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you.
Katie Wright later said the sentence was as if her son was murdered all over again. She pointed out Potter cried in court.
White women tears trumps. Trumps justice. And I thought my white women tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine.
Sentence was below the guidelines. Wright was killed after Brooklyn Center officers pulled him over after having expired license tags and an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. When asked about Western warnings of an invasion of Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he didn't pay it any mind. A humanitarian convoy was hit by shelling, and pro-Russian rebels evacuated civilians from the conflict zone. In Munich, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to Baltic leaders.
I recognize the threats at this moment, historically and going forward, to our friends, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. We stand with you. I am here personally to say that. We stand with you.
Shelling and shooting are common along the line that separates Ukrainian forces and the rebels. A bill in California would allow private citizens to go after gun makers in the same way Texas allows them to target abortion providers. A pileup involving about 100 cars, trucks, and big rigs during a blinding snowstorm shut down a 17-mile stretch of interstate in central Illinois for a second day. State police say Interstate 39 north of Bloomington remains closed. This is AP News.
Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Yesterday, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers continued to push for his tax surplus rebate for sending every Wisconsinite $150 immediately and investing close to $800 million in Wisconsin's K-12 education and the University of Wisconsin systems. Republican lawmakers have indicated that they want to sit on Wisconsin's surplus until the legislature session in 2023. Governor Evers called for a special session to address the surplus during his State of the State address Tuesday evening. This week, a federal judge ruled that two Monona police officers acted unconstitutionally in a June 2020 altercation and detainment of a black man in an overwhelmingly white Madison suburb. In the ruling, the judge dismissed the man's attempt to collect punitive damages from the unconstitutional detainment. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
Back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It feels like a Friday, man. It's been a week, but it's nearly over. You can be a part. Air your grievances right here. Dial us up. 844-967-2789. Minnesota police officer Kim Potter sentenced today 2 years after two convictions, two manslaughter convictions. A tearful, remorseful Kim Potter apparently convinced the judge that 2 years was enough. She got 16 months effectively with good behavior. Above and beyond that, Donald Trump took another loss in the courts today. This one in the D.C. Circuit. In the federal courts, a civil matter, but a couple of lawsuits can go forward against Trump, brought by Democratic Congress people who felt threatened by, the whole insurrection and the turning of the people against them and their lives. And also some of the police officers, the Capitol police officers. Well, the judge effectively said that lawsuit can go forward. And I just want to repeat the quote. I think this one bears repeating. After all, the president's actions here do not relate to his duties of faithfully executing the laws, conducting foreign affairs, commanding the armed forces, or managing the executive branch. They entirely concern his efforts to remain in office for a second term. These are unofficial acts. So the separation of powers concerns that justify the president's broad immunity are not present here. In other words, Trump has no immunity when he's not acting as the president in the official capacity, but when he's, let's say, inciting an insurrection, that ain't so presidential. And the judge said the lawsuits may proceed. And Judge Mehta, M-E-H-T-A, also had this to say. The judge noted how Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by in a debate before the election, and that he likely was aware of the Oath Keepers attending his rallies and a violence plan because of his election loss. Here's what the judge said in the ruling. It is reasonable to infer that the president knew that there were militia groups and that they were prepared to partake in violence for him. It's a federal judge saying this about the former president. It is reasonable to infer that the president knew militia groups were prepared to partake in violence for him. The president thus plausibly would have known that a call for violence would be carried out by militia groups and other supporters. I mean, that's a pretty straight line, folks. The cases will proceed against the Oath Keepers organization and against Enrique Tarrio, the recently incarcerated leader of the Proud Boys. They sought to get the cases dismissed, but the judge concluded the allegations of conspiracy between Trump and the extremist groups and the leaders were plausible enough to allow the litigation to move forward. A little bit more. The president thus plausibly would have known that a call for violence would have been carried out by militia groups and other supporters. The judge is saying Trump knew what he was doing. He armed that mob. He turned that armed, and in this case, militia group, the wannabe mob, he turned them loose on the Capitol. Now, a couple of the lawsuits were thrown out. Fredo, Don Jr., and Rudy Giuliani were released from culpability, apparently under these federal lawsuits. Also, it looks like Rep. Mo Brooks will wiggle out on these lawsuits, although the judge did not dismiss their cases. So the small fish all got off the hook. But this big statement about the former president, I mean, that's a pretty damning statement. In my opinion, I'm no lawyer. I like to play one on the radio, and I like to talk to you on the radio as well. 844-967-2789. I think Tom hit it first. Tom from Madison, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hi, Michael. How you doing today?
I'm pretty damn good. It's Friday, man.
For sure. I just wanted to get on and give a shout out to, once again, those nurses at UW. They're having a big rally on this next Thursday, February 24th, 4 to 8 p.m. And it's going to be across the street from the UW Health ER entrance on University Bay Drive and Highland Avenue. Basically, just the ER alone has lost 30% of their nursing staff. They're understaffed, underpaid, and you know what they got for a year and plus being on the front lines of COVID was a T-shirt, while the CEO ended up getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. So wow. I do hope people will come out for for those people that have been on the front lines for us for the last 2 years. And that's Thursday, February 24th, 4 to 8 p.m. For more stories, go to hashtag. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, what's that action expected to look like? Is that I know, Tom, I believe you've told me that they're trying to unionize or just collectively bargain outside the union structure. What are they trying to accomplish with this? Let's call it a protest for conversation's sake.
Yeah, well, they're calling it an informational picket to get people to know about how bad things are getting. And to also really where this stems from a lot is, first of all, the corporatization of UW Hospital, but also having Act 10 pull their union away entirely. So they're in a special sort of limbo between being a state employee and not a state employee. And I don't understand exactly the legality of it, but from what I've been told, they've been pretty much isolated and taken out of the collective bargaining option altogether by Act 10. So SEIU is getting together with them. They're trying to organize to get SEIU back in and hopefully give our nurses some voice.
Well, Tom, all the workers need to stand together right now at this point in history, but especially, I mean, if we can't give some credit to the nurses after the last year and a half, Tom, I know you tried to give out a website. Do so, please.
Yeah. First of all, there's let's see, we have UW Health Nurses United at SEIUHCWI.org. It's pretty lengthy, but also
give them a couple of the keywords for a Google search, Tom. Say it again, but yeah, if I was Googling it, what do you think I should Google?
I would go to UW Health Nurses United.
UW Health Nurses United.
Yep. And also hashtag why UW nurses need a union is a collection of phenomenal stories from all these people on the front lines that have been collecting for almost a year now. And it's hashtag why UW nurses need a union. And then please read those stories, share those stories, because, the stories are the things that count and really drive people to change.
Tom, really appreciate you sharing on behalf of the nurses. I think I can almost literally see UW Hospital from here, our new world headquarters on University Ave, UW Hospital just down the way. And the couple of times I've had healthcare scares personally, mostly have been at UW Hospital. My youngest son actually had a little scare after Christmas, came back from vacation and passed out in the bathroom, and we took his butt to UW Health, taken there on in an ambulance, and he's done fine and had a concussion, and it scared all of us. But the quality of care we got during a pandemic, and it was different. You could tell how different it was, but I was so impressed even by the bilingual nature of those that received the people that came walking through the door. And you realize the diversity of the community that I live in, just sitting in the lobby for a few minutes. And during COVID protocol, I was only allowed to sit there for a bit because it was my son in the back and they wanted to check him over. But anyways, I was quite impressed by all the staff at UW Hospital and love the nurses. 844-967-2789. The only vocation I love more than nurses are letter carriers like Profane Ronnie. How you doing, sister?
Hey, brother. Living the dream, as usual. So I just have a little comment and a minor grievance.
Uh-oh.
The little comment is all these Republicans, and especially Trump himself, all saying, oh, you're targeting Trump, you're targeting Trump, you're targeting him because he was president, he can win again, you're targeting Trump. Well, we all know that he was a criminal before he ran for president. He's been skirting the law.
You say
for
we
decades.
All know, Ronnie, we have educated ourselves and believe credible outlets like the New York Times and the Washington Post. Republicans, less so. And they don't hear that the guy was a criminal. They hear that he was the greatest president since Reagan.
Well, they've got to have heard something by now. The people in New York knew about him for decades. And so here's the thing. He got away with all this stuff for decades. The only reason he's being targeted, maybe they're right, because he ran for president. But that actually means that, yes, now more than ever, he does need to be held to a higher standard. We can't just say, yeah, this guy was president, so we can't investigate him. It's like this guy held the top-notch position. We have to let other people know that they can't be a criminal and hold the top-notch position.
He's like Icarus. He's like a big, fat, chubby, orange Icarus. He just flew too close to the sun.
Yeah. Or a fly that gets stuck in the spider web, It's like, hey, man, you wanted this notoriety, and guess what? It's going to get you an indictment and, a nice 8x10 cell.
Do you analogize him to like the drug dealer that takes wads of hundreds and shows them off along with some illegal guns on his Instagram account? Does it feel a little bit like hubris to you?
Yeah. I mean, had he never run for president, he would have still been skirting under the law because all of his malfeasance, he would have just done a lawsuit. He would have just kept putting things off, and it wouldn't have been in the news other than New York City or Atlantic City. It wouldn't have been a nationwide story. But because he decided he was going to run to be president, he put himself under the microscope and he got found out.
Okay, Profane Ronnie, setting aside the whole criminality, and of course the fact that the criminality continued after he took the White House, at least to my opinion, yet to be proven in court. We'll see. But that, I know Trump's an exception to most rules, but don't you look and think that any one of us held up to the bright light of scrutiny? I mean, there's something in your life, in your background, in your closet, in your trunk of your car, something you don't want seeing the light of day. That trip down to Florida you were telling us about on Monday night, something you don't want the world to know, Profane.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm not going to run for office or, make a spectacle of myself nationwide or worldwide where the spotlight will be turned on me. If I was a semi-criminal, if I knew that there was shady stuff in my background, I don't think I'd be running for the highest office in the land. If you know you have skeletons in your closet, you're probably going to just keep doing what you're doing because it hasn't fit you in the backside yet,
Ronnie,
so, we all have.
We may never
We all
know,
do.
but Ronnie, do you think it's true that Trump never thought he was going to win? I mean, if you looked at the polling, no one thought Trump was going to win. Everyone thought Hillary was going to win, right? Trump was really trying to what? Keep his brand relevant. Talking about the nurses. There goes another ambulance heading towards UW Hospital. Support our nurses. But I don't think he thought he was going to win. He was just he was on another reality show. He just thought he was in the circus for the entertainment value and the grift, and hell, he can make some money on the sheeple out there. They're mailing them checks right and left. So,
hey, honey, my grievance.
Yes, ma'am.
My grievance. My only grievance is that I didn't get a picture of you, me, and Dom together at People's Park.
Well, that's because your husband was there. Had he not been there, we'd have had all kinds of pictures, Profane Ronnie.
Hey, he said, I can see why you like these guys. They're pretty cool.
Well, we liked him. We liked him, like you guys. Ronnie, have a wonderful weekend. My favorite letter carrier, come back. More Devil's Advocates. I may not know your job, but I know I want your phone calls.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Right now, we all feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone, the isolation can be overwhelming. Connect with an older loved one and have the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. We air the grievances up around here. I got some fine co-devils joining me later, but you could be the co-devil right now on the phone at 844-967-2789. Good Republican friend. I don't have a lot of them, but I got Bill McCoshen, who joins me at 4:30, going to co-devil me up to 5 in my little libertarian buddy Dominic, although I think he's more of a Bernie-crat these days. We'll talk with 5. We'll talk with Dom all the way to quitting time for us all the way up at 6. and hope you stick around for all of the big action each and every weekday. If you don't get us all 3 hours in your local market, just listen to the regular show. And if you got to, sneak out and listen on the Devil Radio app. You can listen to the Madison station, and you can also differentiate and listen to our fine new station, The Shaw. So if you like a little Earl in the morning, listen to The Shaw. If you want a little Stephanie Miller in the morning, you listen to the Devil Radio app. If you want the Devil's Advocates each and every day between 3 and 6 p.m., and don't you all, well, grab us on the Devil Radio app and listen to your local affiliates. Don't want to undermine our local affiliates. We appreciate them all. Our friends up in Minneapolis and Chicago, out there on the leftist coast in Eureka, Janesville, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Madison, Wisconsin. Growing little empire we got here. Quickly, I'm getting to one quick grievance, and then I'm getting back to the phones. Once again, that phone number, 844-967-2789. You remember that girl from Texas, Jenna Ryan, flew her on a private jet up to the Capitol riot on January 6th. And then she had the brass ones to say, well, I'm a pretty white woman. I'm not going to prison. Well, she did. She was kind of wrong. But today, now that she's paid her quote unquote debt to society, apparently she's out. Jenna Ryan is out. I'd like to share some of the reporting and tell you what her first official act. And I'd be curious, Evan and the audience, if you got out of prison, even if it was just 60 days, what's the first thing you do? First thing you do? Well, maybe smoke a cigarette. Evan, you'd run home to that pretty little girl you got.
Mm-hmm. Get some food. Yeah.
Get some food. Is that what you call it now? The kids are calling it food these days?
Yeah.
Well, maybe after some good food and some good loving, you join on Twitter. That's exactly what Jenna Ryan did. Get back on Twitter because I've been got to get her fixed. Notorious Capitol writer Jenna Ryan, who once claimed she wouldn't go to prison because she's white and blonde, has been released after serving a 60-day sentence. Best birthday ever, Ryan wrote on Twitter on Thursday, shortly after the Dallas Observer reported that federal prison camp Bryan confirmed the North Texas real estate agent, and I would point out, convicted Capitol insurrectionist Jenna Ryan had been released. There's no word yet on whether she's dropped the 30 pounds she hoped to shed or how much yoga she did, the Observer reported, noting that Bryan reported early to prison in December, prompting speculation that she wanted to be behind bars for Christmas. That's one way to avoid the in-laws, but it also makes a good story for your new book. Apparently, she's writing a book. Ryan flew to D.C. on a private plane before live streaming the insurrection. Here is what the Observer noted. She posed in front of a broken window and called January 6th one of the best days of her life. Kind of like today, her birthday, her prison release birthday party. That's going to be a windig. The Observer again noted, since then, Ryan's given numerous interviews to tell her side of the story, but has at times accused the media, including this publication, of slander and libel. She also asked for, but did not receive, a pardon from former President Donald Trump. That's got to hurt. Last March, Ryan infamously wrote on Twitter, "Sorry, I have blonde hair, white skin, and a great job, a great future, and I'm not going to jail. Sorry to rain on your hater parade. I did nothing wrong." Courts disagreed. Hope she lost those pounds. We all need goals. If I was going to jail for 60 days, I'd try to lose a few pounds, do a few push-ups, try not to get a prison wife. 844-967-2789. Susan calling in from the car. Welcome, Susan. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, I wanted to comment on, first of all, I want to say free Leonard Peltier. Everyone write to President Biden and asking him to do that is very important. The second thing is I do believe our justice system is skewed. I think there should be equal justice under the law for everyone. And what justice means often is equated with the color of your skin in this country. And I'm very tired of that. And the fact that a 26-year person on the force doesn't know the difference between her taser and her gun is ridiculous. I'm sure she's been in other situations where she's used her taser before. So I really don't buy that.
Hey, Susan.
And my grievance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Air the grievance and go ahead. You go first.
No. My grievance is that Tommy might be running for governor. That is my grievance. I really don't want the man in the office again. So that's
Tommy Thompson. Oh, Susan, just grab the popcorn and sit back and have a little fun. Between Ram Jam, Tim Rantham, Kevin Nicholson, the shapeshifter, we got Rebecca Clayfish. And if Tommy Thompson jumped in the race, by the time they got around to going up against Tony Evers, that's going to be a battered nominee. That's my thought, Susan.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you have some hope. I
do. I'm hopeful it's going to be a brutal political campaign for whoever is the eventual Republican nominee. Real quick, Susan, I have the benefit of listening to Native Roots Radio. They often talk about freeing Leonard Peltier. Briefly tell people why you think that's a good idea.
Well, because he was actually set up. He did have a firearm, but he never shot his firearm. He was set up by the FBI, and actually a couple of other folks that were there never were convicted. It was just because he was the leader of the American Indian movement at the time. So he was taken down because of his prominence in the American Indian movement, because that's been the whole strategy all for thousands of years, or hundreds of years at least, to get rid of the Native Americans. So this was part of the strategy. And there is a book out, I think it's called The Spirit of Chief Crazy Horse, which talks all about the American Indian movement at Leonard Peltier, which is a really good book. So,
well, Susan, you did a good job of explaining it. Thank you for doing so. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for listening to the Devil's Advocates.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. More of your grievances. It's Friday. We air them here. 844-967-2789. I see you, Wisco Paul. I'm just not going to short you for a change. Often, the music's playing and there's Wisco Paul, one time for Wisco, but then you don't get a real full-throated grievance in. And you might have a problem. I got to tell you, I'm here on University Ave. I can see the people walking by. I can see the cars. For the very first time since I've been in the radio business, I think my wife just witnessed me in real time doing live radio. She and her girlfriend came walking by on University Avenue. I gave her a little wink. She didn't wink back. What's the problem? Come on, baby. Wink back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates is next.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
This is Rocker, and I'm sitting here on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies, freezing my butt off. So I'm headed next door to the Dark Horse Art Bar for a Rocker Rye whiskey to warm me up. It's a high rye with just a touch of malted barley. It's yummy. Find Rocker Spirits at Festival Foods on East Wash and Woodman's grocery stores. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The sentence is 2 years in prison for former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter. She shot and killed Dante Wright, a black man, during a traffic stop. Before the sentence was read, Potter spoke to Wright's mother.
Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you.
Katie Wright later said the sentence was as if her son was murdered all over again. She pointed out Potter cried in court.
White women tears trumps. Trumps justice. I thought my white women tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine.
Sentence was below the guidelines. Wright was killed after Brooklyn Center officers pulled him over after having expired license tags and an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. When asked about Western warnings of an invasion of Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he didn't pay it any mind. A humanitarian convoy was hit by shelling, and pro-Russian rebels evacuated civilians from the conflict zone. In Munich, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to Baltic leaders.
I recognize the threats at this moment, historically and going forward, to our friends, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. We stand with you. I am here personally to say that. We stand with you.
Shelling and shooting are common along the line that separates Ukrainian forces and the rebels. A bill in California would allow private citizens to go after gun makers in the same way Texas allows them to target abortion providers. A pileup involving about 100 cars, trucks, and big rigs during a blinding snowstorm shut down a 17-mile stretch of interstate in central Illinois for a second day. State police say Interstate 39 north of Bloomington remains closed. This is AP News. Millions of Britons are being told to cancel travel plans because of weather.
The UK's weather forecasting service says Storm Eunice is likely to cause significant disruption and dangerous conditions, with gusts that may exceed 90 miles per hour and fears of flying debris. The Met Office has issued red warnings that indicates a danger to life for parts of both southwest England and southeast England, including London, while the Environment Agency has issued 10 severe flood warnings, another indicator of life-threatening weather conditions. London Mayor Sadiq Khan wants Londoners to stay at home, not to take risks, and avoid travelling unless absolutely essential. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Vitaly Borker, convicted a decade ago for cheating online eyeglass customers and harassing some of them, was arrested for a third time, accused of resuming internet-based criminal behavior soon after getting out of prison. Ed Donahue, AP News.
From Baraboo to Horicon, WTTN 1580 AM is News Talk Radio built for the 99%. Rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
We face real challenges. My name is Peter Pekarsky, and I approve this ad stating that I'm running for the U.S. Senate to replace Ron Johnson because some people see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that could be and ask why not. Why not provide health care as a basic right? Why not have broadband all over Wisconsin? Why not end systemic racism? Why not send a real progressive to the Senate? Visit PekarskyForWisconsin.com and support this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin.
At Chad's Design Build, we care deeply about the quality of the services that we provide to our clients. An excellent remodeling experience requires communication, honesty, accuracy, and a detailed plan, all of which helps to create a satisfied client. And these commitments spell our name. To learn more about the Chad's remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com. Building a better world, one remodeled home at a time, and celebrating 30 years of excellence.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Drew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. And that's pretty cool.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Former four-time governor and current interim UW system president Tommy Thompson announced yesterday that he will take the next couple of weeks to think and ultimately make a decision by the end of April whether or not to run to be governor of Wisconsin this fall. Thompson, at age 80, stated last month he would not rule out a run for what would be a fifth term as the state's executive. Thompson's decision whether or not to run would even further shake up the Republican gubernatorial primary, which has become crowded over the past few weeks. Yesterday, State Senator Roger Roth of Appleton announced that he will be entering the Republican primary for lieutenant governor. Partly cloudy skies early today, turning to cloudy skies this afternoon with a 60% chance for snow and a high of 36 degrees. Southern Wisconsin will enter into a wind advisory today at 2 p.m., lasting through tomorrow morning, overnight low of 4 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, my favorite one of the week. I hope it's yours as well. You're listening right now. You can play a part in this big program. Just got to dial the phone, 844-967-2789. And I forget to tell you, fine people, those of you that have not yet liked our Facebook page, please do so. The Devil's Advocates Radio. We post our good stuff, our source materials, occasional pictures, and the whatnot. And we also do the Twitter, although I got to admit, I've turned over Twitter duties to my little buddy Dominic. He's going to co-devil with me in the 5 o'clock hour. We got Bill McCoshen. And I hadn't even heard the story about Tommy Thompson. I mean, someone brought it up in hour 1. Former governor of the state of Wisconsin, Tommy Thompson, apparently at the age of 80, contemplating whether he wants to run again. And maybe I can bring you some insights because I've got his former chief of staff, Bill McCoshen, one of my remaining few GOP buddies, coming at 4:30. So, we'll talk politics with Bill, and we'll always talk politics with you. Again, 844-96-PARTY. But I want to talk about the spying on Donald Trump, as he alleges, by Hillary Clinton. And this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but, Trump's trying to deflect, let's just say. Had a few bad court rulings in his direction this week. But Durham, this prosecutor, this plant brought forth under the Trump administration by Bill Barr, now a special prosecutor, special counsel, my bad. And John Durham's been, filing a few sort of around the fringes, sort of modest charges, lying to the FBI against a lawyer that worked for Hillary Clinton, apparently. And that guy's had a pretty strong defense, and it's all felt like thin gruel. But then he filed something last week. Durham did. Oh, and Trump world, the MAGA world, they just jumped on it. Hillary spying on Trump. See, it was the whole time we told you. And she was planting stuff, that whole Russian hoax, the Russia. Well, Hillary got in his server somehow, and she put it all in there. But today, or recently, Durham has put up another filing. And he appears to be distancing himself from, let's call it, the far-right Fox News theories. This week's theories about Hillary Clinton spying on Donald Trump already appeared foolish. John Durham's new court filing made them look worse. Steve Bannon reporting at MSNBC. Over the course of nearly 2 years, special counsel John Durham's investigation into the Russia investigation, the investigation of the investigators, hasn't amounted to much. Sort of a nothing burger. The probe has, however, led to one indictment, which has proven to be provocative in unexpected ways. Last September, the prosecutor charged cybersecurity attorney Michael Sussman for allegedly having lied to the FBI. Sussman's defense attorneys have tried to have the case dismissed, and their pushback is credible. There's evidence that Durham's indictment was misleading, relying on selective quotes, omitting relevant details from their proper context. In December, Sussman's lawyers disclosed evidence that raised additional doubts about the reliability of the charges. Well, that brings us to February. Indeed, as we've discussed, the whole case is quite odd. Sussman met with the FBI nearly 6 years ago to discuss alleged connections between the Trump organization's computers and the Kremlin-linked Alpha Bank. According to Durham, Sussman claimed he wasn't acting on Clinton's behalf when he secretly was. Sussman's defense team has said he never claimed not to have clients, and it didn't much matter whom he worked for anyways. The story took a painful turn 7 days ago when the special counsel's office made a court filing that sent Donald Trump, conservative media, and much of the Republican Party into hysterics. And we only tell you, so if you have to see that uncle this weekend, you got a little fight back. Let me tell you. Though the right relied on a twisted version of reality, Republicans said Durham had presented proof that Hillary Clinton's operatives had spied on the former president. That wasn't true. The right didn't care. The Trump GOP tantrum did not go unnoticed by those participating in the Sussman case, the New York Times reported overnight. John H. Durham, again, he's the special counselor, the Trump-era special counsel scrutinizing the investigation into the investigator, the Russian 2016 election interference, distanced himself yesterday from false reports by right-wing news outlets that a motion he recently filed said Hillary Clinton's campaign had paid to spy on Trump's White House servers. Did you hear that? The prosecutor said, no, that's not what it says. In the wake of this week's media in Republican circles, Sussman's defense lawyers accused the special counsel's office of having made needlessly provocative claims in order to politicize the case. Well, that was the whole point. That's why Bill Barr put this plant of a special counselor from the last administration out there to try and give some cover fire for the former, because he's the actual criminal if we paid attention, or soon it will be alleged and the indictments are coming down and we'll declare Merrick Garland Day all around up in this place. But suddenly it gets bad for Trump in the public eye, right? Legally. And then suddenly there are these court filings and these, sort of sketchy, if you get it, then you get it kind of a filing that right-wing talk radio and, Fox News, they just ran with it. They ran and ran and ran. Spying, I tell you. And then, Durham says, maybe it's not. By the way of a defense, Durham told the court in a new filing, and listen to this, this gets really rich. If third parties or members of the media have overstated, understated, or otherwise misinterpreted facts contained in the government's motion, that does not in any way undermine the valid reasons for the government's inclusion of this information. So sorry if you got it wrong. Implicit in that defense is an acknowledgement that the special counsel's office does not want to be associated with this week's hysterics in far-right circles. What's more, while the details get a little complicated, one of the key elements that emerged this week is that Trump and other GOP conspiracy theorists had a calendar problem. The relevant White House network data appeared to come from the Obama era, before Trump even took office. Durham's filing from last week didn't acknowledge this timeline, which led Republicans and conservative media to make assumptions that were wrong. With this in mind, the new report from the Times added, Mr. Durham did not directly address that basic factual dispute. I mean, it's pretty bad when you're the special counselor and you don't lay out the timeline. And if you did lay out the timeline, you could have dispelled many of these misconceptions over on Foxy News, but maybe you wanted it that way. Mr. Durham did not directly address that basic factual dispute, but his explanation for why he included the information about the matter in the earlier filing implicitly confirmed that Mr. Sussman had conveyed concerns about White House data that came from before Mr. Trump was president. So if they were looking, they weren't looking at Mr. Trump. They weren't spying on Trump. What? Were they spying on Obama? And by the way, that lawyer worked in Barack Obama's White House, not Trump's. All of which is to say, this week's far-right conspiracy theories were already difficult to take seriously. In the wake of Durham's new filing, they suddenly look a little worse. Don't they, though? 844-967-2789. Leaving a little time for Wisco Paul, the patient man. How you doing, Wisco?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Happy Friday to you. One of these days, I'm going to have to drive by or walk by your new studios down at University. There.
I'll give you a wink, Paul. If you wink back, we'll know it's true love.
All right. Hey, and it's not right radio, it's wrong radio. You can't believe anything they say, and it's not Fox News, it's Fox Opinion. And the Cheeto Jesus, you know what, at this point, if you're still following that guy, I mean, not you, but the Republicans, you got serious issues. I got a quick grievance, and it goes back to the state of Wisconsin here with a couple of, I don't know, is there anything beyond stupid? Can you be beyond stupid?
Oh, I know a few people that are beyond stupid, but please, what's your thought on the matter?
Well, Voss and Gableman, I mean, they're investigating something they're not even investigating, and it's free city, which drives me crazy, Madison, Milwaukee, and Green Bay, basically.
What makes you think that is predicated on a lack of intelligence? It's a purposeful, methodical plan to undermine the last election and plant the seed, if they want to steal the next election. What makes you think that is somehow inspired by lack of intelligence? I would say it's very strategic, Paul.
Well, about the way they're going about it, though, I mean,
they're
not even
that. They look like some big old dumbasses. The way this has blown up in their face, like a pumpkin at midnight. Yeah, it hasn't gone well for them. But please continue. I can give you like 30 more seconds.
Okay, the whole thing's a mess at any rate, and they're not even doing the investigation right. And on the top of that is taxpayer money. We're paying for this part. The whole thing. You know what? Wrong radio, the GOP. I don't even know where these people are anymore. But in the Trump thing, the Cheeto Jesus thing, it just gives me a headache. Okay, I'll let anybody out there fill in the blank. Happy Friday to you, Crudy.
Well, thank you, Paul. And I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. I'm right here in the Devil Radio Studios, right on 3535 University Avenue. This old guy, nice boomer. He's going to wave at me if he hears me. Well, he looked friendly. No winking. But anyways, Paul, come see me here on the street. Or you can always join us at 844-967-2789. Bill McCoshen at 4:30. My buddy Dom at 5, but your phone calls could be next. Dial us up, 844-967-2789.
I have never been more excited about anything that I get to have.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so that you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I may never have met you. We don't go way back. Maybe we wouldn't even be friends if we did. But when you wear a mask, you have my respect. Because your mask doesn't protect you. It protects me. I wear my mask to protect you. Mask up, America.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right. Buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising, the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I think we made it all the way through the week without Russia invading Ukraine. So far. I mean, they said it was supposed to happen on Wednesday. Come on, I like a prompt invasion. Joe Biden said today, he is convinced Putin has decided to invade Ukraine. So he's convinced it's coming. I'm not convinced of when, but Joe Biden told America and the world really today he's convinced it's coming. Now, I want to get back to this John Durham for just a minute longer, just in case you bump into that crazy mega loving uncle this weekend and you feel like you have to defend Hillary Clinton. Maybe the truth. Well, you know where they don't feel so, loyal to the truth is over on the Foxy News. And it's surprising to me that Hillary Clinton has kind of come out and publicly taken a couple of shots. And Sean Hannity is now daring Hillary Clinton to sue for defamation after she warns Fox about actual malice. That's the threshold. Sarah Palin didn't quite understand that. But if you continue to say Hillary hired spies, spied on the former president, from the filings of Durham, whatever sort of fiction you had been spinning up until now, there's new filings. Even Durham said, hey, don't believe Fox News. And Fox News has got to defend themselves in this environment from Hillary Clinton. Fox News has been obsessed with Hillary Clinton this week after Bill Barr's secretly installed special counsel, John Durham, filed papers in court. The right-wing media has twisted and turned into yet another fake and thoroughly debunked scandal with new fake and thoroughly debunked filings. In her speech at the New York Democratic Convention Thursday, the party's 2016 presidential nominee, and I'm going to tell you, man, she threw quite a party in Philly. Dom and I are still hungover. The 2016 presidential nominee and landslide popular vote winner, Hillary Clinton alluded to that obsession, drawing a challenge from far-right propagandist Sean Hannity just hours later. Overnight, CNN's Oliver Darcy reported on the verbal scuffle. Fox leads the charge with accusations against me, this according to Clinton's speech. Fox leads the charge with accusations against me, counting on their audience to fall for it again. She then invoked some legal language. As an aside, Clinton said about Fox, they're getting awfully close to actual malice. Clinton spokesperson Nick Merrill wrote on Twitter that she had called them out on their bull, let's just say guano, called them out by name. So Fox News is basically continuing to propagate this lie. I mean, this is the network of Benghazi. It's the network of a lot of bad you-know-what. But specifically, if you continue to report this, even against a public figure, at some point it rises to the level, the legal term. Palin didn't get there down with the New York Times. Actual malice. They've got to know what they're doing is wrong and do so anyways, sort of spitefully. Citing Fox News' already manic coverage of Clinton, Darcy notes that the right-wing talk channel, which has in recent days dishonestly twisted a court filing from the special counsel John Durham to accuse Clinton of nefariously spying on Donald Trump, mentioned, and notice this, mentioned Clinton's name nearly 200 times Thursday. One network, one name, 200 times in one day, according to a search of Rush TV transcripts. Now, Sean Hannity, never to be, smart, responded to Clinton's warning, as Darcy explains. Malice, really? It's called news. the right-wing propagandist claimed, Hillary, we invite you to bring it on. Of course, while it is extremely unlikely Clinton would take any such legal action against Fox, I would be curious to know what the network's lawyers think of him daring her to sue for defamation. For those who don't watch Fox News Nightly, they included a clip. We're not going to play the clip. Sean Hannity encouraging another defamation lawsuit against Fox News. Between all the sex scandals with your buddy Papa Bear Bill O'Reilly, who he continues to have on his big show, Hannity has Papa Bear all the time. Listen to him just the other night. And they were talking about this very topic. And here's the difference. I'll give Papa Bear Bill O'Reilly some credit. He wasn't jumping to these radical conclusions predicated on the filing of John Durham. He wasn't acting, let's just say, with actual malice. So Papa Bear probably ain't going to get sued. But at some point, Sean Hannity, I know he's got the high-priced lawyers and they think it's all good. As long as the ratings are good, say what you got to say, do what you got to do. But at some point, even if it's Hillary Clinton, when you use her as a voodoo doll and you lie about her one too many times, at some point it starts adding up to, what do they call it? Actual malice. 844-967-2789. Got a Fine Code Devil coming soon. He is Bill McCoshen. He's one of my few Republican friends. But do you recall Fox News is embroiled currently in a defamation lawsuit with Dominion voting machines? Because, of course, they were pushing the big lie. Stolen elections. The Dominion machines, the votes were turned from Trump to, well, I guess it wasn't Clinton in this case. It was Biden. Like 1.3, 2.6 million. I forgot. Billion. Oh, my bad. Did I say million? I meant billion. You're currently being sued. Your network that you're so proud of because you always get the facts right, Sean Hannity. Sue me? I hope she does. I hope Mark Elias has got a little bit of time to work on that one for Hillary. So anyways, come back. Bill McCoshen, a fine Republican, and perhaps he can offer us some insights. What's Tommy Thompson thinking? The 80-year-old, venerable, former Wisconsin multi-term governor. Well, apparently he's thinking about running for governor again. That would really shake things up. Get your popcorn. Come back with us. Bill McCoshen joins the Devil's Advocates, the Friday edition. We air the grievances.
Taking on Ready Whitey Talk Radio on both sides of the dial, from Cross Plains to Cottage Grove. Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Here on Devil Radio, the happy hour is always the happiest hour of the day. If you want to end your day on a high note, join the happy hour at the all-new Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington Ave, right next to Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Happy hours now Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. with drink and wine specials and $1 slices.
Hello there, Bill. How are you today?
Building the Dark Horse Art Bar. Enjoy this unique, funky, cool space. Surround yourself with art with featured local, regional, and national artists.
Can you hear me, Bill?
Each month.
This is Rocker, and I'm sitting here on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies, freezing my butt off. So I'm headed next door to the Dark Horse Art Bar for a Rocker.
Hi there, Bill. How are you today?
Warm me up.
Good. How about you?
Rye with just a touch of malted barley.
I'm well.
It's
Thanks for
yummy.
joining us today. You sound good.
Yeah.
Festival
You bet.
Foods on East
Okay, good
Washington
deal. We are back
Women's
in
Grocery
3
Store.
minutes.
You must be
Okay.
21. Please drink responsibly.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The sentence is 2 years in prison for former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter. She shot and killed Dante Wright, a black man, during a traffic stop. Before the sentence was read, Potter spoke to Wright's mother.
Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you.
Katie Wright later said the sentence was as if her son was murdered all over again. She pointed out Potter cried in court.
White women tears trumps. Trumps justice. I thought my white women tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine.
Sentence was below the guidelines. Wright was killed after Brooklyn Center officers pulled him over after having expired license tags and an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. When asked about Western warnings of an invasion of Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he didn't pay it any mind. A humanitarian convoy was hit by shelling, and pro-Russian rebels evacuated civilians from the conflict zone. In Munich, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to Baltic leaders.
I recognize the threats at this moment, historically and going forward, to our friends, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. We stand with you. I am here personally to say that. We stand with you.
Shelling and shooting are common along the line that separates Ukrainian forces and the rebels. A bill in California would allow private citizens to go after gun makers in the same way Texas allows them to target abortion providers. A pileup involving about 100 cars, trucks, and big rigs during a blinding snowstorm shut down a 17-mile stretch of interstate in central Illinois for a second day. State police say Interstate 39 north of Bloomington remains closed. This is AP News.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Yesterday, Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Voss said that he is not certain that the 2020 election review being conducted by Michael Gableman will confirm the results of that election, stating that the Assembly gave broad authority in the review with few questions to answer. This morning on Conservative Talk Radio, Speaker Voss said that the Gableman review has issued more than 100 subpoenas, a far greater number than was previously known to the public. Yesterday, the city of Milwaukee was named the frontrunner to be the location for the Republican National Convention in 2024. Milwaukee was the host location for the Democratic National Convention in 2020, but did not receive the economic impact expected due to the COVID-19 pandemic, shifting the event to a virtual one. The Milwaukee Bucks lost to the Philadelphia 76ers last night, 123-120, in their last game before the All-Star break. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. I've been joined, I believe, live via Zoom by a fine guest. He is Bill McCoshen. Bill, I don't know what to call you anymore, man. I'm just calling you a Republican friend. How you doing, Bill?
I'll take that, Mike. How are you? I'm good.
I'm excellent, Bill. I've been hearing some crazy talk during the news breaks. Rumor on the street is your former boss and buddy, Tommy Thompson, considering a run for Wisconsin governor. We talked about that briefly prior. Seems like he's getting a little closer in his deliberations, Bill.
Well, I think what he said when he was in the assembly yesterday, by the way, for your listeners, he was so honored by what the assembly did in a bipartisan fashion. They passed a couple resolutions honoring his service, not only as governor, but as interim president of the UW system. And then they named the assembly parlor after him. So he was tickled pink when I talked to him last night, but he did get asked some questions about, potentially running. And what he said was he isn't going to rule it out, but he's not going to make a decision until right before the Republican convention in May. He's going to take the month of April sort of off. He's done at UW System on March 18th and take some time off, hopefully go down south, get a little sun and relaxation and see where the race stands at that point. Do I think he's going to run? I think I said last time on your show, I don't think he's going to run. That's still where I lean, but he's the only one that can say for sure.
Well, Bill, I think if he did run, I think he'd immediately jump to the front runner status on the Republican side. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think you're 100% right. I can tell you without a doubt that he is the most popular political figure in Wisconsin today, and it's not close.
Well, I'd like to think I'm trying to make it close, but, I never served in any public office. Bill McCoshen, my GOP buddy and fine guest for the rest of this hour. Hopefully, Bill, if you can stick around that long.
Yep, for sure.
Talk about the guy who did make his big announcement last Saturday. We've been calling him Ram Jam. The Trump I'm going to overturn the 2020 election and perhaps every election back to 1996. Representative Tim Rantham. What do you think of Rantham's big splash entry?
Well, it already knocked out one candidate, right? Jonathan Wickman changed from running for governor to running for lieutenant governor. So Rantham's entrance into the gubernatorial primary has knocked out one potential candidate already. I see him more as being a disruptor. I don't see a path for him to win the nomination. There's just a narrow fraction of Republicans who think that the election could be decertified. By the way, it can't. There's no legal way to do that. It's not constitutional nor legal. There's no way to do that. So if his entire campaign is built on that, it's a pretty narrow base to work with, and not nearly big enough to even be competitive in a Republican primary.
I'm less convinced, Bill. I'm not sure that Rantham, as of this moment in history, he might be the front runner. He comes with the support, apparently, of Donald Trump. If Trump makes a public proclamation, if only he had a Twitter stream still, but if he puts out a public endorsement of Rantham, Rantham's going to see a big boost in fundraising, and he is going to have the adoration of the Trump portion of the Republican Party. And whether or not you can overturn the last election, Bill, I think it's a much bigger percentage of Republicans that think it was rigged, and, maybe you can't overturn it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't stolen.
Oh, listen, first of all, I'm going to correct one thing you said, and I think it might be that you don't have the most current information, but Rantham was not endorsed by Trump. That is still up for grabs.
Yeah.
Whether Clayfish could get it or Thompson could get it or Nicholson could get it, I think is an open question. But he has not endorsed Rantham. If he did, then I would agree with you. And all of a sudden, Rantham would become a credible candidate. And I'll tell you why. The most important endorsement in the GOP primary is not Scott Walker. He endorsed Rebecca yesterday. It's Donald Trump. So whoever can get that is going to have a leg up to win the GOP primary on August 9th.
Now, you talk about Rebecca Clayfish, and, if you'd asked me a month ago, I'd have said, well, she's clearly the Republican favorite. She was the lieutenant governor under Scott Walker. And of course, she got her former boss's endorsement this week. And, she's telegenic, she's smart, she communicates well. But I thought she perhaps started her campaign tacking a little too far to the right. Well, if anything, Bill, I think she's going to have to tack back to the center, at least in response to Rantham. And I'm not quite sure what Nicholson's lane is, but he's definitely throwing shade her way already.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So there's definitely an establishment lane. Rebecca's got pole position in that. There's an outsider lane. That's the lane that Kevin is trying to come up. The energy, frankly, is more on the insurgent or the outsider campaign right now. Not to say she's the front runner. I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't think she has closed the deal yet. I think there's a long way to go between now and August 9th. And, frankly, if Tommy Thompson or an actual outsider, somebody who hasn't run for office in recent years with a lot of money that can self-fund gets in this race, they could be competitive potentially too.
Bill McCoshen, my fine guest, GOP buddy of mine. Bill, do you still envision perhaps an Eric Hodvie or a well-heeled Republican thinking, it's time, I'm getting in. It's a broad enough primary now. It could only take 25% to win that primary.
I think it's going to take 35 to win it. Even if it's 4 people in there just to be safe, that's the math you got to do as a campaign manager. Probably how do you build a coalition to get to 35? I think Eric Hovde is a legitimate candidate, and there's no question he could self-fund. If he decided to get in, he could stroke a $10 million check on day one. And, Rebecca's raised 3. Kevin, I don't know what he's raised so far, but it appears Dick Uihlein is willing to fund his super PAC, which is a very big advantage for Kevin for sure. But Hovde could level that playing field overnight with his own money. So he doesn't have to rely on other people. So a self-funder or a Tommy Thompson could get in later than somebody who's got to raise all the money themselves, like Clayfish does. So, I don't think we've seen the last of the entrants into this race. The other guy that's been mentioned in the recent days anyway is Tim Michaels. He's one of the brothers that runs the Michaels Pipeline Corporation out of Brownsville. Ran for U.S. Senate back in 2006, I believe, or it might have been 2004. Former Army Ranger, run a very successful company. And, he and his brothers were big donors to Donald Trump. So that's a name that's now circulating in GOP primary circles. So again, Rebecca today, no question, she's the front runner. Kevin is running a hot insurgent campaign against her. And we're going to see how that plays out over the next 30 or 60 days.
Well, Kevin Nicholson entered the race by basically casting shade at Rebecca Clayfish. At least that was my thought, trying to, knock the queen off the throne at this point. She responded yesterday on a radio interview up in Wausau. She was calling the guy a shapeshifter and an opportunist. And, I'm not sure that she's so far from wrong. But did you expect to see a defensive and perhaps an aggressively offensive Rebecca Clayfish coming out swinging?
I would have handled it a little bit differently had I been advising her. But I think she has to fight back. If she doesn't, then the allegations that Kevin is leveling against her will stick, right? So she has to fight back. I probably would have done it slightly differently than she did, but I think it was inevitable that this was going to get into a food fight, a family fight. It happened a little sooner than I expected, but I think it will ultimately make, and this is where I differ with a lot of people in the Republican Party. I've said on your show, I've said in newspaper articles, I've said on public TV, I'm a believer in primaries because I think they make the general election candidate stronger. And as it relates to gubernatorial elections, the only 4 times in history where an incumbent has lost, they have been defeated by somebody who first won a competitive primary. And let me give you 2 names that your audience will absolutely recognize. Tony Evers is the most recent. There have been 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Another one of the guys in that list is Tommy Thompson, won a competitive primary. Scott Walker won a competitive primary, but that was for an open seat, so I can't count that. But the history says a competitive primary as it relates to gubernatorial races is the best path, frankly, on both sides of the aisle. Now, you're going to hear from others that'll say, well, at U.S. Senate primaries, it hasn't been the model. Well, that's true. That's a different race completely. And those races are often dictated by external forces, meaning outside money. Gubernatorial races generally are funded internally in the state of Wisconsin, with some minor exceptions. So as it relates to gubernatorial elections, history has proven that competitive primaries are a good thing, not a bad thing.
Now, Bill, I know you're not on the Tony Evers team, but Tony gave his State of the State address earlier this week. And I guess it was on the 15th. It was on Election Day. And, brought out the band, and everybody loves that part. But what did you think of Tony's, call for a special session, which, of course, Republicans will ignore? But what did you think about Tony's pitch for re-election?
So I'm going to give you the good and the bad, Crute. So I thought it was touching and authentic how he gave a shout out to his wife on their 50th or upcoming 50th anniversary. I thought that was, I don't think it was political in the least. I think it was authentic and it came across really, really well. So I give the governor 2 thumbs up on that. I think he did what he had to do as it related to the laundry list of things he spent federal monies on. Since the pandemic. He went through a list of, from transportation to, broadband to a variety of other things. And that's a pretty normal thing to do in a state of the state. Where I think he missed the mark. I don't think he talked about the key issues that people are talking about at their kitchen table. And those are as follows. Inflation would be number 1. Rising crime would be number 2. And believe it or not, election integrity is the number 1 issue on some polling I've seen in recent weeks in the state of Wisconsin. He didn't talk about any of those 3. There was one slight mention of inflation when he said, that tax cut I signed into law last summer, hopefully that'll help alleviate, the inflation that you're facing now. I don't think that's good enough. I think they want, the the voters want answers. And some of this is going to be federal. And by the way, two things I'm going to say that you talked about. Joe Biden's going to ultimately be a drag on Tony Evers. There's gravity, political gravity that's working against him. In the last 30 gubernatorial elections in Wisconsin, only one person has been reelected when their party controlled the White House. Shocking, I'm sure, to your listeners. That person was Tommy Thompson. In 1990, George H.W. Bush was the president of the United States. He's the only one in the last 30 elections who has won re-election when his party had the White House. So the political gravity is not on Governor Evers' side. The other thing working against him is the right direction, wrong track number. It's way upside down, as worse as I've ever seen it. And ultimately, that becomes a drag on incumbents. And lastly, I'll say this, Joe Biden, his numbers, they're okay in Wisconsin. They're not, trust me, they're not anywhere near 50, but they're better than they are nationally. But ultimately, that's going to be a drag on Governor Evers, I believe, too. And the last thing I'm going to say that you mentioned on the special sessions, I think that was risky for the governor, because if you're scoring this at home, he has called 9 special sessions. He is 0 for 9. He hasn't gotten a single bill passed in any of those. He's the only governor in history to get nothing passed in the special sessions that he's called, which speaks to his relationship or lack thereof with the legislature. But now he's going to go 0 for 10. They're going to gavel in and gavel out that special session. You heard it here first, Crute. He's going to go 0 for 10 on special session.
Well, Bill, every time Tony tries to lay down the bunt like the coach told him to, Robin Voss sticks one in his ear. Bill, you got a few more minutes on the other side?
I do.
All right, come on back. More Devils with my GOP buddy, Bill McCoshen.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
My neighbors have different opinions about COVID-19 vaccines. Getting vaccinated is your choice. No one can make your mind up for you. Talk to your healthcare provider about your questions and go to getvaccineanswers.org for the latest information. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Warm up. That's when we'll see Pat.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Monaco Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MonacoBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. My little buddy Dominic joins me in the 5 o'clock happy hour. Yes, we've expanded back to 3 to 6, but right now I got a fine cold devil. He is Bill McCoshen. He's one of my few remaining Republican friends, but I appreciate you coming around, Bill, and talking a few politics here on a Friday.
Absolutely.
Bill, let me ask you, sort of off topic. RNC MKE 2024. What do you think of that idea?
I think it's going to happen. It looks like we are the front runner, which is awesome, right? I mean, we got disappointed when the Democratic convention came here in 2020 and, we had this doggone global pandemic. So it was more like it was a fiction. It didn't really happen. This one's going to happen. It'd be phenomenal for Milwaukee and for the state of Wisconsin.
And for the Republicans, that would kind of be the ultimate troll in light of the 2020 Wilmington, Delaware convention and the virtual server convention in Milwaukee. I mean, what better way for the Republicans to troll in a very important swing state like Wisconsin than put the RNC in Milwaukee?
I think it's awesome. And, I think 2022 is shaping up to be a great year for Republicans in Wisconsin. There's a very good chance they get a veto-proof majority in the Senate. I think they pick up the 25th, which is my old home area. It's often referred to as the bad counties, Bayfield, Ashland, Douglas. It's a little bit, it's all the way up north, and Superior would be the city your listeners would recognize, and Rice Lake. I think we get that seat. And then, truthfully, I think Robin Vos has a chance to pick up some seats up north as well. So he's got a little longer path to get to a veto-proof majority. He needs 5 seats. He'd need a red tsunami, I think, to get there. But, I think we're going to be in good shape at the top of the ticket, both at the U.S. Senate race and at the gubernatorial race. These primary things will work themselves out, and we'll have a strong competitive candidate in the general, for sure.
Bill, will Robin Vos even survive as the Speaker of the Assembly? I mean, I know he's got the rank and file, and he knows how to keep his caucus in line. All except for the Branchins and the Ranthams. There's a certain fringe element. They're pushing hard against this guy, and they've got the grassroots fired up.
They got the grassroots fired up. I think Robin did a smart thing today. He went on Jay Weber's show for an hour. But, I don't want to kid your listeners. Robin's a personal friend of mine. I like him a lot. I think he's really, really smart, and he's very good at politics. And he doesn't get credit for the things he's done to build that majority, to maintain that majority, and to pass conservative legislation. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for that. He's taking more blame than he deserves on these election things. Some of that's his own making. I've spoken to you about, my feelings about Gableman, but I'm a Robin Vos fan, and yes, he does survive as Speaker.
Let's talk about Ron Johnson, your friend and mine. Rojo, is he going to survive as a U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin? You talked about right track, wrong track with Tony Evers. Well, Ron's numbers are just as bad. So only one of the two can survive next year, I would predict. Who's got a better chance, Ron or Tony?
I think there's a scenario, Crute, where both of them could win, believe it or not. But
I don't believe that.
I think,
how is that going to happen?
Well, both of them would win with 51. Nobody's going to, neither one of those two guys is getting over 51%. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I think there is a scenario whereby people like checks and balances, and you and I have talked about this. I think the country has turned on what's going on in DC, and they can't wait to turn the page and get some checks and balances in DC. And certainly the presidency's not up this year, but the Congress is. I think the House will absolutely flip. I think there's a very good chance the Senate flips. And if it does, that means Ron Johnson probably got reelected. My crypto bet today is on Ron Johnson to be reelected.
But Ron's making it tough on himself. What about some of his statements this week about, Oshkosh Corporation, for example? We got plenty of jobs. Let him go to South Carolina. That's not going to play well in the campaign ads this fall.
Yeah, when you're explaining you're losing, thankfully the Wall Street Journal did a longer piece on that. And when I first heard it, I thought, well, that can't be right. That can't be what he said. Well, when you read the Wall Street Journal portion of this, it makes some sense. You might still disagree with it. Maybe you do. You probably do. But what he's saying is, I'm not going to tell a business what they need to do, for their business. They need to make that decision themselves. And I understand his point on that. Now, remember, I was a commerce secretary for 4 years under Tommy. We fought for every job we could. And those are high paying jobs. So if I were commerce secretary, I would still be trying to get the U.S. Postal Service to build those new mail cars in Oshkosh for sure.
Well, Bill, they're not building anything at Foxconn near as I can tell. Will there be any political price to pay for that boondoggle?
I assume the governor will use it. If Rebecca Clayfish ends up being the nominee, I assume the governor will try and make an issue of that. And, I think it remains to be seen. I think, it's obviously disappointing, but the truth is no state dollars went out the door because Foxconn could never meet the conditions of the contract. Having said that, I don't want to mislead anyone. A lot of local dollars went out the door on infrastructure.
Well, and the state's backstopping all those localities. And when they go belly up because there's no Foxconn plant, the state is on the hook for something approaching $500 million or more.
Yeah, I think it's about $500 million. And I got to be honest, I think that bet's going to play off long term anyway from an economic development standpoint. What they have created is a desirable, a green field, as we call it in economic development, that will be developed. It's certainly not going to be developed by Foxconn like it was originally envisioned, but businesses will come to that business park. There's no doubt in my mind, and in part because all the infrastructure is now there. So it might be a longer play than originally anticipated, but that's going to work itself out.
Okay, the really important question, Bill, and it's going to take a little prognostication on your part. Will Aaron Rodgers return to the Green Bay Packers for the next season? I hear he's newly single.
Yeah, I think he will return. I've always been a Brett Favre fan. Full disclosure, not a crazy Aaron Rodgers fan. If he comes back, he's got to get the monkey off his back about playoffs. He sucks in playoffs. He's got to get over that.
Well, I wish he could. I don't know how you get over it. You just got to win the Super Bowl again.
You got to win the Super Bowl, right?
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Twice in my lifetime, Bill McCoshen, you're like two of my Republican friends, one of my two Republican friends. If it weren't for you and Joel Clayfish, I'd have none. Bill, appreciate you coming around on a fine Friday afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
See you later.
Come back with us, the Devil's Advocates. We ain't close to done yet. My little buddy Dominic's joining us for the 5 o'clock happy hour. And if you hadn't noticed, we stretched her out 3 to 6. So you're going to want to make a note of that. Get the Devil Radio app. If you have to leave the car, take us with on the radio, in your pocket, on your smartphone, in the Google store, the iPhone store, whatever they call it. Just do it and just stick around. Dom and Devils. 5 o'clock happy hour is next.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here. And Brooke Lopez here. I love being a champion. And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen. Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote. They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away. Don't let them do that. You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. Some of us, were meant to run for public office, and some of us were meant to run others out. That's the side I come from.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The sentence is 2 years in prison for former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter. She shot and killed Dante Wright, a black man, during a traffic stop. Before the sentence was read, Potter spoke to Wright's mother.
Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you.
Katie Wright later said the sentence was as if her son was murdered all over again. She pointed out Potter cried in court.
White women tears trumps. Trumps
justice. My witness tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine.
Sentence was below the guidelines. Wright was killed after Brooklyn Center officers pulled him over after having expired license tags and an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. When asked about Western warnings of an invasion of Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he didn't pay it any mind. A humanitarian convoy was hit by shelling, and pro-Russian rebels evacuated civilians from the conflict zone. In Munich, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to Baltic leaders.
I recognize the threats at this moment, historically and going forward, to our friends, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. We stand with you. I am here personally to say that. We stand with you.
Shelling and shooting are common along the line that separates Ukrainian forces and the rebels. A bill in California would allow private citizens to go after gun makers in the same way Texas allows them to target abortion providers. A pileup involving about 100 cars, trucks, and big rigs during a blinding snowstorm shut down a 17-mile stretch of interstate in central Illinois for a second day. State police say Interstate 39 north of Bloomington remains closed. This is AP News. Millions of Britons are being told to cancel travel plans because of weather.
The UK's weather forecasting service says Storm Eunice is likely to cause significant disruption and dangerous conditions with gusts that may exceed 90 miles per hour and fears of flying debris. The Met Office has issued red warnings that indicates a danger to life for parts of both southwest England and southeast England, including London, while the Environment Agency has issued 10 severe flood warnings, another indicator of life-threatening weather conditions. London Mayor Sadiq Khan wants Londoners to stay at home, not to take risks, and avoid travelling unless absolutely essential. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Vitaly Borker, convicted a decade ago for cheating online eyeglass customers and harassing some of them, was arrested for a third time, accused of resuming internet-based criminal behavior soon after getting out of prison. Ed Donahue, AP News.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
Hey everyone, it's Abby with Downdrains Distilling. Come out to visit us and try our craft cocktails in our tasting room in Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, open year-round. We also have a huge outdoor cocktail garden where we'll be hosting our first annual Bloody Mary Fest this March and other great events. Find Downdrains at your local liquor and grocery stores or stop into our tasting room in Cottage Grove. We're always family and pet friendly. For more information, go to downdrainsdistilling.com. That's downdrainsdistilling.com.
Hi, this is Todd, owner of Orion Inspections, and I love winter. One reason is because it's a great time of year to get a radon test. You probably heard about radon and its dangers and have maybe put off testing for it because, you know, life. But winter is the perfect time. The windows are closed, the kids aren't running in and out, the furnace is on. It's an ideal environment to get the most accurate reading. And then you'll have solid information to base your next decisions on. We want you to have a happy and healthy new year. Learn more about radon and schedule your test today at orioninspections.com.
Hey man, you still driving to Beloit for gummies and carts?
Yeah, man, it's a real drag.
Well, stop wasting gas, man, and ride your bike over to Williamson Street and stop into Quality CBD. They have gummies and carts.
Huh? They have gummies?
And all your favorites like Delta 8, Delta 10, and THCP.
Wow, man, where are they located?
Find Quality CBD at 1222 Williamson Street in Madison. For more information, visit qualitycbd.org. That's qualitycbd.org.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive talk from Middleton to Monona, always streaming at darnwi.com.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. This week, a Dane County judge dismissed a case brought by Madison Teachers, Inc., the local teachers union, against the Madison Metropolitan School District over discrepancies that the district had last year during contract negotiations with teachers. The attorney representing MTI said the judge's dismissal was a no harm, no foul outcome, but stressed the district may experience similar discrepancies in this year's contract negotiations. On Thursday, the Dane County Board voted to postpone a vote that would borrow an additional $42 million for a Dane County jail for another 2 weeks. Partly cloudy skies early today with a 60% chance of snowfall this afternoon and a high of 36 degrees. Southern Wisconsin will enter into a wind advisory today at 2 p.m. lasting through tomorrow morning and an overnight low of 4 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, our happiest day of the week. Welcome back, my good buddy, Dominic Salvia, co-deviling for this entire hour. Also want to thank my most recent guest and co-devil, Bill McCoshen, sort of one of my few remaining GOP friends. And real quick, wanted to acknowledge the Waukesha County Democratic Party. Had the opportunity to speak to them briefly last night. And, they did their housekeeping. They got it going on down there, man. They've got the most active and engaged membership of any of the Democratic parties in the state of Wisconsin. At their peak, last year or whatever, election cycle time frame, 1,700 active members, I think they claimed. They increased their cash reserves, and I felt a little guilty, like I was eavesdropping on the family budget, but they did it in public session. They talked about their budget, and they increased their financial reserves. I'm thinking they're growing this bad boy and they're making money.
They're motivated.
Put money in the bank. Yeah, and I was looking on a line item on the budget, looking for super cool radio buy.
Yeah. How much money allocated for that, Mike?
I didn't see that line item, but maybe from the slush fund or the super cool slush fund, something like that. So anyways, we welcomed ourselves to Waukesha with 540 AM and 101 FM, the Shaw. And I did tell the fine people last night, I said, I'm glad you're all here. They were at the Presbyterian Church in Waukesha. Had to have a big venue for all the people. Too big for the Democratic Party headquarters. I mean, they had a big, nice crowd. And I said, well, you people are here, talking Democratic stuff. Joel Clayfish is on the air and in the studio at 217 Wisconsin Avenue in Waukesha. And Joel was. We greeted him, me and Fancy Brian. We helped put him on the air. And he said, are you coming on? I said, no, thank you. It's all you, fella.
Yeah, knock it out, man.
Well, I don't have any hunting, fishing relevance to offer. So anyways, apparently Joel was doing a show. And Evan, who's on the board for us today, thank you, Evan. Evan's been doing a lot of work around here. Him and Fancy Brian's been doing a lot of engineering. So, we appreciate the patience as we've gone through a few growing pains, but, now we got the world headquarters here and we got the place in Waukesha. And so anyways, Evan was screening the calls last night. He said he had just the one unexpected caller, Rebecca, on a car phone. And to my understanding, didn't take Rebecca's call. And I was kind of pleased about that, all things considered, because, it's a hunting fishing show, and I didn't want it to be all political.
Yeah.
So, Joel, congratulations on the inaugural show. Evan was impressed. Joel actually has a media background, and it didn't get all political. So, there you go.
Well done, everyone. Well, Crudy, I got to ask you, this whole, your two Republican friends that you saw each of them or talked to each of them in the last 12 hours. So
Yep.
or 24 hours. So, all right. So
I'd like to throw Dale Schultz on that list as well. I'll Dale may not count me as a friend, but I count Dale as a friend.
Oh man, Dale's like a liberal now compared to what these GQPers think. But I got to ask you, McCoshen, I heard a little bit of that Fine interview you did, and he threw.
It was fine, wasn't it?
But you're a little softball, man. I mean, if you're friends with someone, you're supposed to bust their chops a little bit. Like, hey, Bill, what the hell about Foxconn, man? That thing was a scam to start with. It was a scam with Trump and with Walker when they went down with their gold-plated shovels. It was all an election scam. We ran the numbers, man. The LFB ran the numbers. That thing was never going to pay back.
But who's going to pay?
The best circumstances, and he didn't even account for the time value of money, that the fact the dollar is worth more today than in 20 or 30 years from now. We had the guy on from Ball State or whoever the economist was.
Yeah, I remember.
So this thing's never going to pay off. I mean, this thing was a scam A to Z. How do you think? Well, now that they put a $500 million into infrastructure, someone's going to build a fish farm down there, or maybe put up a auto dealership. What are you talking about? This is supposed to be
greenfield, baby.
Not the greenfield that we want, man. Legalized pot. But my point being is, it's nice to be nice to the guy, but if you have a relationship, you should bust his chops a little more.
Sure, I absolutely will, depending on who wins the primary, because it only really is a tool to bash Rebecca Clayfish with. She was part of the Walker administration. She was bragging at the time. Now,
how many Republicans voted against it? You know what I mean, man?
Well, but those are
Rebecca would be prime, but that you can hang that on every single Republican.
What about Kevin Nicholson? You're going to hang that on Nicholson?
Well, he wasn't in office. What if Republican? What do you think about that? Would you do that? Would you sign that? Would you promote it now, Kevin Nicholson?
What about Ram Jam?
Ram Jam.
I mean, there's bigger fish to fry with Rantham, right? I'm not going to hit him over the head with his Foxconn vote in the assembly, because the man's still trying to relitigate 1996. If I can't disqualify him with just his current actions, I mean, it really, and so
But you're talking about $500 million.
Took my foot off the pedal because I thought he made an accurate point. If it's Rebecca Clayfish, let's go to work. Let's talk some Foxconn. But even if it's Kevin Nicholson, and certainly if, the really crazy happens and Tommy Thompson gets in the race, and what do you think about that? We keep hearing this in the news breaks. Well, Tommy's going to go to Mexico for a month and come back rested, relaxed, and tanned, and decide whether or not he wants to be the governor. Because if he runs, he probably wins.
But
if he's got the energy
say
for it.
About the Republican Party and the mess they are in, all it does is verify what we all know to be true. It is a dumpster fire over there. You don't have to worry about it being or becoming one. It is one. If an 80-year-old dude who was there once, if you're retreading that wheel, you have some big problems. Hell, why don't we run Bill Clinton for president?
Can we? I mean, because Joe Biden's looking a little weak in 2024. There's, depending on whose polling you believe, the majority of Democrats don't want Joe Biden to run for re-election. And what did Bill McCoshen say about the gravity of Biden's polling numbers on Tony Evers? I mean, Tony Evers can't afford any gravity in this race. It's going to be a close race, probably a close race, no matter who the nominee is.
So. Yeah.
I think Rebecca Clayfish, actually, I think probably she's your nominee. I'm a little nervous at this point in history. It's not going to be a red wave. I mean, there are some indications. Now, I look at things like the January 6th and the prospect of indictments, and, somehow the fever's going to break. But I'm less convinced that it will. The other thing I take some inspiration from, the very aggressive Democratic gerrymandering in New York State and Illinois. You know how they talked about, we're going to lose 5 seats just through the gerrymander process. Well, here was the problem for the Republicans. They had taken all the real estate there was to take. You can't go carve out another 2 or 3 or 5 seats in most states. But now the Democrats in New York State, they're getting a first crack at redistricting in a really partisan fashion. They could steal 5 seats away from the Republicans. Elise Stefanik, now she's all down for gerrymandering in everybody else's state. But in her state where she could be affected, much less so. Now I'm only talking as a personal citizen, not as a representative of the Bat Guano Crazy Party that loves the gerrymander in the states when they can. But you ever think about that? The gerrymander could literally preserve the House of Representatives for the Democrats.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons.
Right. What a mix.
And where's our moral stature when we effectively do the same things we accuse them of? As long as we hold the House, it all makes sense, though, right?
Well, right.
We're trying to preserve democracy here.
I think that ultimately is the point. And at the end of the day, as much as I dislike it, I'm down with fair maps. If Iowa can do it, everyone can do it. And perhaps this will motivate some Republicans to, get on that bandwagon. Yes, we should not do this. This should not be a thing to have the politicians pick their voters like that. Now, that being said, I philosophically, morally agree with that. At the same time, you don't fight with one arm tied behind your back. And if that's how they're going to play ball and it's quote unquote legal, how is anybody going to admonish them for doing so, especially those on the right?
Well, I've taken some recent heart from, I believe, Supreme Court rulings in Ohio. I know for sure that have rejected some of these highly partisan maps. And in the state of New York, my understanding under state law, you're not supposed to do it for partisan reasons. But of course, we know when it gets to the federal courts, and there is that whole supremacy clause, but you can't have a state law that, is contradicted by federal law. And quite frankly, that would be in direct contradiction, although it seems to be a contradiction under the weed statutes, and they let that pass. Yeah. But we know what happened. We were one of the battlefield cases, the case coming out of Wisconsin. I think it was Whitford on the gerrymandering, and it went up to the Supreme Court, and they sent it back down for standing. And then Kennedy retired, and they said, "No, do whatever you're going to do." Partisan is not a reason not to accept. You can gerrymander as partisan as you want under federal law, and therefore under state law in the state of New York. So go nuts, Democrats. I know it's hard for me to say Democrats.
Go
fight gerrymander. Go win the House of Representatives by, effectively perverting the will of the voters in the state of New York and perhaps in Illinois as well. I hope they're listening to us on WCPT 820 AM. Pritzker, if you can hear my voice, stick it to them, Republicans down there.
Stick it to them hard.
Teach them a lesson. I mean, they certainly taught it to us, right? When they had the levers of power,
they
stuck it to us.
Oh, I thought it was better candidates and better ideas.
I know, Bill McCoshen talking about how Voss has built up the legislative majority. I'm like, all credit be to the gerrymander, man. Come on, Bill. Friends tell friends the truth.
Now you tell them, man. Talking to me, you got to address them at the time, Crudy.
If you didn't like how I handled that interview, where were you at 4:30? Come back with us. Perhaps Dominic will stick around for the whole hour.
Maybe.
Or perhaps he'll become overly critical and I'll turn him off the Zoom meeting. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. You can join us, 844-967-2789. We'll get to the phones. I promise on Dobbs' shallow dug grave.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Catching up after work.
What? You said that? You really said that? I knew you should have just seen them. Like, you should have been.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
The Devil's Advocates. So relevant, they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all. It's been a long week, but not nearly as long as it has been for Donald Trump. We're going to take your calls right now. Let's get to them. Chris from Sun Prairie, welcome. Happy Friday, Chris. What do you got for us?
Hi. Well, I had to call because I wasn't too crazy about your Republican friend being there saying all those things about Robin Ross. I've watched Robin Ross now for about a decade. You know, I've been, of course, there watching him legislating and not legislating when they don't show up. So I just want people that are out there listening that might not know what Robin Ross and the other Republicans do down here is they come down here and they pass really bad legislation, and then they go home and they say what those people in Madison do. Those bad people in Madison. They're the people in Madison that are passing the legislation that are affecting people around the state in negative ways, like the Foxconn deal, which was very bad, the schools which have been defunded, the roads that have turned back to gravel. That is what Robin Ross has done for this state. Robin Ross has not been good for this state. He's not a good legislator. Everybody follows him lockstep. They don't vote for themselves at all, the Republicans. So I just think people need to understand that when they're talking about Madison doing bad things, they're talking about themselves. They come down here and they vote this stuff. And some of it, they vote in the middle of the night because they're so ashamed of what they're doing because they know they're wrong. So I just had to say that because I don't care for Robin Ross at all.
But Chris, don't forget, they also collect copious amounts of per diem.
And they let people from outside of the state write their legislation for them too, and they've been caught doing that.
Now, Chris, if I can ask you though, from a conservative Republican point of view, do you see how a guy like Bill could look at Robin Ross and say, yeah, this guy has been a success. He has passed the bills that I want to see passed. He has enacted legislation that I want to see enacted. I mean, to a Republican, at least a traditional, I guess, Republican like Bill versus, Ram Jam and these new GQP people, isn't that exactly what they're looking for?
What is conservative about letting them sink like these high capacity wells in all over our state and having people have their lakes pumped out that, were family lakes, like at cabins they went to for their whole life? I don't know what's conservative about letting the frac sand mining take over areas of our state and ruining people's land that's been in their family for years. I've sat with people in their farms whose land was destroyed. I sat with one woman whose daughter could not even return home anymore because of this sand in the house. She got a high capacity filter in her house, but her daughter couldn't come there because she would literally throw up blood. We did an interview with her. I mean, the damage that has been done to people across the state, there's people with Foxconn that actually lost homes over this deal that never happened. There were people that had dreams for their homes, had taken their homes and have worked on them for years, and finally were going to retire. They had it where they wanted. They lost their homes because of this. They had to leave.
Chris, you don't think eminent domain is a conservative attitude?
Big government coming in and taking a personal home for development.
I think there's nothing conservative about this Republican Party. I really don't. And I think that really, I don't think that there's really anything about them that takes into consideration Wisconsin. And it's a shame, because Wisconsin, it was once a great state, and people really should look at what we're losing. If you don't know what the Wisconsin idea is, people should look, because it's going away, and it's going away fast, and it's a beautiful thing, and we need to bring it back.
What do you think, Chris? I know you live in the second, as do I. Mark Pocan is our respective congressman. But in the first CD, you got Brian Stile, the Republican. Obviously, that's right in his backyard. That's his corridor, although they might move the lines around. Hell, it's definitely in Robin Voss's backyard. I mean, if there was a political price to pay, and I know these are very gerrymandered districts, but the first could be a competitive district, at least if you made Foxconn a central plank. And I certainly think that, holding it against Robin Voss, it'd take a hell of a candidate and, a weird stroke of luck to beat Robin Voss in his district as the Assembly Speaker. But it happened to Eric Cantor in Virginia. I don't think it's unprecedented to think that, the king could lose.
Yeah, I don't think any race should go uncontested myself. I mean, that would be my feeling. But, I think that takes an active citizenry. I don't think that we should be counting on just parties to be doing things. We need citizens to be doing things in this state. We really need to look at our local races. We need to look at county races. We need to look at all of this, and we all need to take some responsibility and say, we do not want people that gavel in and gavel out. It's playing games with our lives, and it needs to stop. It really does. This doesn't just affect Republicans or Democrats. There's people that lost in this Foxconn deals on both sides there. There's people that have lost in COVID on both sides there. We really need to start having legislation that absolutely, we need people to represent us, to start legislating for people. And I don't feel that we're getting that.
Chris,
and Robin Voss is the ringleader.
Should part of that be having conversations with guys like Bill McCoshen?
I don't think that we should not speak to people that are Republicans.
Come on, that sounded a very political parsing.
Double negative is a positive.
Okay. Well, I guess I have tried to have conversations, but I don't know if I would be able to, because he sees Robin Voss in a very different light than I do. I would like to probably know what he knows about what Robin Voss has done in the state.
Well, the difference is, Chris, you see Robin Voss as smart and evil, and Bill just sees the smart. Where we also, I'd like to think, Dom and I, we also see the evil, because it takes evil to know evil, and we are the devil's advocates. Chris, appreciate your call. You always add to this program. Be like Chris. Join us. Add something at 844-967-2789. Come around here again. Don't come around here no more. No, Bill McCoshen, you're welcome back. I'm going to welcome you back.
Come around here again.
Oh, okay. That all makes sense to me now. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. Don't not come back with us.
Hear history as it happens, only on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites. Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
This is Rocker, and I'm sitting here on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies, freezing my butt off. So I'm headed next door to the Dark Horse Art Bar for a Rocker Rye whiskey to warm me up. It's a high rye with just a touch of malted barley. It's yummy. Find Rocker Spirits at Festival Foods on East Wash and Woodman's grocery stores. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
I am here with Patrick from Salvatore's Tomato Pies and also the all-new Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington. Patrick, congratulations on getting the new venue open.
Hey, thanks very much.
And how long has Sal's been there?
Well, Sal's has been there since, we opened about 3 weeks before the shutdown of the pandemic. So it's been a pandemic restaurant, so to speak. So we haven't really had an idea of what it's like to run it there, not in a pandemic.
And this new bar, I've seen photos. I'm looking forward to spending some time there, especially during the happy hour. First and foremost, when will the happy hour be?
So happy hour is Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. And we're featuring buy one, get one free drinks. There's $1 Sal's tomato pie slices, which is probably the most significant thing about happy hour. It's a pretty good deal.
Well, the most significant thing about the Dark Horse, the art bar, is the art, of course. I've seen the art, and I note you've got not just local art, you've got regional artists, you've got national artists. Obviously, that is the theme of this venue.
Yep. Sam, my partner, used to own a company in town called Firecracker Studios, which was another gallery. He's a fantastic artist himself. He's the curator, so he's curating new shows every month. So we're featuring local, regional, and national artists, and in all theme shows, and it's pretty outstanding.
So the ambiance is very art centric. I've noted you've even got art on the bar.
Yes, a lot of our locals have come in and they've added their touches to it. So it's a pretty unique and fun space.
Well, come check it out. The brand new Dark Horse Art Bar. It's right there with Sal's at 756 East Washington Avenue. They've got the happy hour specials going on Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Find them at darkhorsemadison.com.
Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. Yesterday, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers continued to push for his tax surplus rebate for sending every Wisconsinite $150 immediately and investing close to $800 million in Wisconsin's K-12 education and the University of Wisconsin systems. Republican lawmakers have indicated that they want to sit on Wisconsin's surplus until the legislature session in 2023. Governor Evers called for a special session to address the surplus during his State of the State address Tuesday evening. This week, a federal judge ruled that 2 Monona police officers acted unconstitutionally in a June 2020 altercation and detainment of a Black man in an overwhelmingly white Madison suburb. In the ruling, the judge dismissed the man's attempt to collect punitive damages from the unconstitutional detainment. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Crudy right here on University Avenue in the world headquarters. Dom at an undisclosed bunker location under the bridge, apparently under the Hone Bridge. At least that's what you'd have us believe.
I can be anywhere I want to be.
Tom, getting a little hate mail from the audience.
All right.
Friends of us saying, stirring the pot. Are we really, after the softball cuddle fest with Joel and Bill, I upchucked my double old fashioned. Yeah, thanks for those words of encouragement. I don't usually encourage people to watch the political TV shows, but I think good bookings on the upfront this weekend with Adrian Peterson. She's got Governor Tony Evers. She's got a dual appearance with Cavalier Johnson and former Alderman Bob Donovan. So, you know, the mayoral race in Milwaukee. And then it gets a little sketchy. Kent Wayne Scott's got Ram Jam. Ram Jam is getting primetime political appearances now.
Bring it.
And then apparently Matt Scott talking about the 2024 Republican National Convention bid. I did ask my buddy Bill, and we're going to talk to you in a moment, folks. Be patient in queue. 844-967-2789. But you got the beautiful blue Milwaukee 414 hat, care of Too Much Metal Fred. Let me ask you, Dom, would you wear it proudly to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Obviously not a fan of the politics and less of a fan of their 2024 front runner. You're the twice impeached, one-term loser, fraud of a former president, Donald Trump. But, their money spends. And let me tell you something, man, there is no more beautiful spot in the entire world than Milwaukee in July.
Well, they came to Milwaukee in mid to late February. A little chillier now. My understanding is, according to Politico, they came here first. Apparently, Milwaukee is now the front runner. And I know no one's picking Salt Lake City. So it's either Milwaukee or Nashville, and that's got sort of a honky-tonk feel to it. But I don't think you're changing any hearts or minds in Tennessee. I think they're going to troll the Dems by coming to Milwaukee.
They are the trolling party, man. That would be certainly in their wheelhouse to do so. But what about the DNC, man? Is the DNC coming back? We need a do-over.
No, we're going to my
do-over.
I want to do over on South Beach in Miami. Let's
Miami in the middle of July. You leave Florida to come north in July, man. You don't go to Florida in July.
Well, my hair doesn't frizz. I don't have that problem.
Yeah, but
my body is always beach ready.
Up, man, you can be peeling like an onion. You go down there, man.
It's
like 120 degrees on the street. We were down there last time. You remember?
I will take those chances.
You're just salty because they didn't make it last time.
Yes, I am still salty. I would party at either Nashville, but I'd prefer to see one of the conventions. I think it's far more likely the Republicans will troll us all by putting their convention in Milwaukee. And we will attend, and I will attend. Hopefully you'll come with. Either way, put it in pod. Pod would be good for you. 844-967-2789. Daniel from Madison. Daniel, my brother. Daniel, my friend. What do you got for us?
Hey, Daniel.
Well, I was just listening to Mr. McCoshen, and I think he misstated the state of Wisconsin's financial exposure currently.
He said we haven't
Foxconn
spent any money.
for-
Go ahead. You go, Daniel. I don't mean to interrupt.
the state of Wisconsin now owes them a tax credit of $29 million. That's basically $2 million for the job creation and 27 for the money they spent on the real estate, which of course is the real estate is fungible. They can sell that in the future. So right now the state of Wisconsin is absolutely out $29 million. And whether some of that's offset with some tax obligation from Foxconn, which is unlikely or not, the state of Wisconsin is going to pay money to Foxconn as of 2021.
Yeah, Daniel. And the numbers eventually, if it's not developed in some way big, substantially, of course, the local community, they can't afford the infrastructure they've already invested. And we, unfortunately, the state taxpayers have clawback provisions in the deals we made with the local municipalities. So the only ones that are going to walk away with scot-free is basically Scott Walker and Foxconn.
Well, the best authority I've seen on this is basically the book Foxconn by Larry Tabak, who is a local author, published by University of Chicago Press. And he does a wonderful job in that book in explaining how this thing went from a Tea Party village board to this absolute, well, there's a research fellow from George Mason University, which is a conservative economics department, who says basically Foxconn is the poster child for how low the bottom can go, and that basically it's the worst he's ever seen in terms of being a swindle for the taxpayers.
Oh, absolutely, Daniel. And I feel like I had a front row seat to a lot of it. I was at a lot of the Robin Vos press conferences, and they jammed that through the Assembly and through the Senate nearly as quickly as Coney Barrett got jammed through to be impaneled on the U.S. Supreme Court inside of 2 weeks. And even at the press conferences then, that well-paying job, Daniel, they were only representing $13 an hour as the well-paying job that was going to be created on average. The average wage at Foxconn, they were only representing as $26,000 a year. That was way off the $53,000 or $100,000 or whatever figures. I mean, they've been making it up all along.
It was
a back of the net.
There.
It was a
Hail
Mary.
It was never going to. It served a political purpose. That's all it did, and it didn't work. But it's still, and this is the most galling thing about it. Eminent domain, and you hear the Republicans and conservatives. Oh, the heavy hand of government. Well, those very same conservatives used eminent domain, not to, put a highway through for the greater good, quote unquote, but for a private development with an international corporation who has a history of doing these, making grandiose promises and then not following through with them. And then they put this deal together, as Crudy mentioned, on the back of a napkin. The deal, the money, if you look at the numbers, you look at the inputs, outputs, interest, those kinds of things, it was never, ever, ever going to pay off. It never, ever will. And so for the Republicans who claim to be all about the people and don't like the big government, to use big government to slam this, to pull people from their homes. So many people just built them, and then they went through and, they call it blighted. It wasn't blighted, quote unquote blighted. They did whatever they had to do to ram this thing through, regardless of how many people it hurt, regardless of whether or not it was actually going to work. Because all they had to do was get through the election. Well, it didn't work. But the communities are still on the hook. Those people still don't have homes, and the Republicans are still hypocrites about it. And I would also add Peter Barca, a Democrat, and Corey Mason, I believe that mayor of Racine, they were down.
Todd
for this.
Olmsted also.
They were down with this, and so it's that kind of a promise politically is so very dangerous when you see people that would normally. I would think Barca would normally. He's head of the Wisconsin Department of Revenue now. Barca, did you look at the pro formas of this deal, and you thought, yeah, this is a great idea? How the hell are you qualified to be the head of the DOR right now?
Well, you know what? Peter Barca is the only person, near as I can tell, that paid any sort of political price for Foxconn, because he was the minority leader when Foxconn was shepherded through. And, I understand backyard politics from the three guys whose districts would have been directly affected if it had come to fruition. Corey Mason and Todd Olmsted and Peter Barca might all still be in the assembly. They're the only ones that paid a price. Well, Olmsted is, but the other two, they've moved on.
844-967-2789. Moving on to more of your phone calls. Dick from Madison, you will be next. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
Hey, guys. I bet you don't remember this guy, David Clarenbach.
Oh, sure. I've heard that name. I'd have to think hard, but yeah, David Clarenbach.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go. I'm somewhere you may not want to hear.
Well, then I'll dump you, man. Where are we going? Dom's always a no. Just so you know.
Take my hand, baby. Show me the way.
Your friend Dale Schultz.
Yes.
And him were contemporaries. They went to high school, the same one I went to. They were 2 years ahead of me in high school. Dale Schultz, I've held this for a long time. Dale Schultz in 2010 at a reunion I was at, talking to him. Oh, whatever happened to your contemporary, David Clarenbach? And you know what he told me?
What's that?
Oh, unfortunately, he died of AIDS. And I'm telling you right now, go ahead and sue me for, whatever it is, Dale Schultz. Dale Schultz, your friend, the senator, is the biggest phony on earth. He said that to me.
And why is that information incorrect, Dick? You got to tell
Because
the people
he's
the
still
moral of the
alive.
story. Yeah, David Clarenbach is still alive.
Yes. And I sent him the information from Madison Magazine about 3 years after he made that statement to me. Oh, here's your classmate from Madison West High School who is supposedly died of AIDS. This guy is a scum.
Well, you think he purposefully, so what? You think he had disowned him and wished him dead, or
What I'm
perhaps
telling you
was he
is
misinformed?
He's phony as a $3 bill with all this stuff about what he is. I'm this kind of middle of the road Republican. No, you're not.
Well, Dick, here's what I would say about Dale Schultz. Dale Schultz wasn't a middle of the road Republican. Dale Schultz was the twice elected Senate Majority Leader on behalf of the Republican Party. Now, the Republican Party abandoned Dale Schultz somewhere along the line, and the Republican Party effectively pushed Dale Schultz out of office. I mean, Dale was afraid, I believe, of being primaried by Howard Markline, and decided instead he'd retire, didn't want to lose that race. I personally, and I judge plenty of people in this world by my own personal interaction with them. I lied my own way into Dale Schultz's office once upon a time, many years ago. I lied my way into his office. I said, my father-in-law is one of your constituents, which I guess is technically true, but I don't live anywhere close to Richland Center. And Dale gave me 45 minutes in his office under false pretense, quite frankly. And I went and advocated on behalf of my kid, Dick, and other kids with autism. And Dale and I didn't agree on everything, but Dale gave me the respect. I was a false constituent. Hell, I was like a false Trump elector that day. Eventually, I'm sure I confess, because I've talked to Dale many times subsequently, but I can only speak to the experience I had with Dale. And I can tell you, I have not seen, and I've represented Dale and introduced him at different speaking functions. Him and Tim Cullen did quite a few things. Yeah. Both the former senators. I judge Dale by my experience with Dale. And if Dale wanted David Clarenbach dead, and this is some wish and not just misinformation, well, shame on Dale. But I believe probably Dale got some bad information, because I don't think anyone's walking around claiming their friend is dead, or someone they knew back 50 years ago in high school is dead, if they know them to be alive. I don't see why Dale would be motivated, even if you think Dale's anti-gay or homophobic, and I just don't see how that would motivate a completely false answer.
Thanks for the call, Dick. My experience with Dale, he was a fairly straight shooter. He came off the floor, was it over redistricting, I believe, right after the last gerrymander, and came onto the show and was very forthright with us. And in fact, that audio was used in the federal court that subsequently followed. But Dale is certainly, at the time, was not middle of the road. Maybe he is now. I mean, Trump would call him a rhino, but I believe he voted with the, Republicans like 98% of the time. He was the leader of Republicans for a couple of sessions. I mean, he was what used to be a true red Republican. Now he's not welcome in that party.
He will continue to be welcome here. I'm just telling you. I don't care if you like all my friends. My mom's been saying that to me since I was a little kid. You're going to have friends like that? And I'm like, Bob, but I like Dominic. Come back with us. I hope you like Dominic and Evan and Crudy as well. We like when you join us on the phones. 844-967-2789.
Brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Managing today's uncertainty can be overwhelming. Focus on what you can control, even if it's little things like your before bedtime ritual.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in Deep Red, northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, we'll take your calls right now to the top of the hour at 844-967-2789. Finishing up a week, my first week back. And thank you, everyone, for making me feel so welcome. Thank you, Crudy. It's been a whole lot of fun, man.
No, I've had fun as well. You know, looking at you right now, you remind me of Milton Berle and Dragon, the old Brad videos. Do you remember that video on MTV every 15 minutes? That was like
the guitar player's uncle or something. That was back when MTV was rocking out, man.
Well, that video I've seen hundreds, maybe thousands of times. The only video I've probably seen more, Billie Jean.
And Thriller, can't forget Thriller.
I wouldn't watch through the whole.
You're not.
It's not Caddyshack. I've seen that a million times. 844-967-2789. Jumping back to the phones. And our pal, Pizza Box Michael, you will have your own show right here on Devil Radio. Don't forget to tune in noon on Saturday for the live edition and the replay on Sundays. But Pizza Box, welcome back. Got a grievance?
I'll try not to forget it Saturday. Hey, you know, there's a reason why Foxconn didn't make a deal in all the other states. And they tried in some of these other red states, and they laughed them out of there. Of course, we're never going to get nothing out of it. Every economist, everybody that's ever made a deal with the state said this is the worst deal ever made.
Michael, what about the deal we're looking at making with Amazon outside Madison? No stimulus funds, but now I understand people are like, oh, not in my backyard. Don't we want that sort of economic development ultimately, Michael? I mean, you can say what you want about Amazon, but they bring jobs. Do we want jobs, be it Amazon or Oshkosh Trucks?
F Amazon and everybody else like that. I'm not filling their rockets with jet fuel, man. Are you kidding me? I've never used them.
Yeah, but that Prime's pretty convenient, Michael. I've got to tell you, man. You want it, it's there tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, everybody's focused on their wants instead of their needs, and especially needs of people that don't have even their needs met. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah, it's worked out really well. The more technology, the more rockets, the more billionaires we have. Great land, isn't it? Hell no, I wouldn't give them a dime, man. I'm telling you, convenience and entertainment is the end of all mankind. And I can't wait for it to happen because most people will be, you know.
Hey, back off. You and I and Dom and even Evan, we're all in the entertainment business, quote unquote. You know, we're not doing this just to look good on the radio, man. We're supposed to entertain the people, inform them, inspire them. You know, you got to be entertaining or they don't stick around for the informing and the inspiring, Michael.
Well, there's a way to make truth really entertaining and not having to concede any ground to, you know, well, hey, let's compromise with wrong some more. Anyway, I'm doing all right, man. Don't worry about me.
Well, good. I hope you do a fine show tomorrow. Don't forget to tune in. Pizza Box Mike outside the Pizza Box right here on Devil Radio. You can listen on the app as well. But plays out on noon on Saturdays. That's the live edition. And then we replay it on Sundays. I got to tell you, Pizza Box is the star of our Saturday lineup. And I say that out of analytical and statistical analysis. He is literally the star of our Saturday lineup. Please tune
Mike,
in.
don't forget, tomorrow's Saturday. You're on the air, and you can be on the air with us today.
Did you ever forget that you had a show the next day, Dom? Come on, really, deep down.
No,
Did you ever forget?
No. I've never forgotten. No, I've been late once or twice, but never forgotten.
I remember that one time you missed the top of the show because you were just talking in the bullpen with the sales guys. Oh, man, what time is it?
Oh, I got to go.
I was just talking and looking. Where's Dom? Where's Dom? Next thing I know, it's 5 months later and it's Valentine's and there's Dom again. 844-967-2789. Jake from Milwaukee. How you doing, Jake? Say hi to Dominic.
What's up, Jake?
Good. Hey, so I'm sitting here with my my government sponsored crack pipe, and
it is Friday.
You know, it is, and not only that, but I have my my dollars from what's his name, who gives everyone money, and then Dom's
Your
back.
Biden bucks.
My Biden bucks, isn't it? Because
are you calling us on your Obama phone, Jake?
Yes, I am. And so all I'm asking is, Dom, did you come back because now Double Radio is going to make millions and billions?
Yeah. No, listen, man.
Why are you rooting against us like that? We could. It could happen.
It's possible. Yeah. I mean, listen, Joe Rogan can make 200 million on Spotify. Maybe Curdy and I can make something happen. Jake.
You know, there's two of us, Jake. We should make 400 million.
Actually, it's Joe Rogan, just so you know.
Oh, nice.
But Dom,
I don't
welcome
find that
back
quip
for
funny, Jake.
Our day.
The
Okay.
Rogaine stuff, we don't go there here.
It's a little too.
It's like Dom doesn't like when you joke about Viagra.
Oh,
I miss the guy, Jake. I miss these zingers. I mean, so far today, I've talked about, erectile problems Dom experiences occasionally, and perhaps burying him in a shallow grave.
Well, it's hard, Curdy. I'm just not attracted to you. It's not you, it's me.
There's not enough.
Go ahead. One more. Oh, there goes.
Oh, what happened?
Apparently, we interrupted him one too many times. He just, I quit you. Bye, Felicia.
Oh, don't be canceling. We don't cancel around here.
844-967-2789. Nothing but respectful conversation. We'll see. Jeff, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, welcome back, Tom.
Happy
first week back. Mike, I got a lot of problems with you people. Where's my movie review?
Oh, well, the movie's still in the wrapper. I know you sent it Amazon, so it arrived overnight. But I've been kind of busy, man. I don't know if you noticed. We've been building out the world headquarters and the satellite world headquarters in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and trying to interconnect the studios. And I had a party with Dominic on Monday night, and then Thursday night I saw the Waukesha Dems. So maybe this weekend, man, I'll get back to you, Jeff. I'll watch Idiocracy, dude. I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I think Dom would agree that it's a good one.
Idiocracy. Is it?
I've seen it.
Have I seen it? I feel like I should have seen that one.
It's entertaining. Yeah,
it's in my briefcase. I mean, for the love of God, throw it in the DVR, Crudy.
Wait.
Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll listen to you next week.
Awesome,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the very kind words. Crudy, a DVD doesn't go in a DVR, man. I know that they're like letters, but it's just not the same thing.
Well, I was going to say, the disc player still got that sticky porn one stuck from 1984. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to watch it this weekend, Jeff.
Disc player. Wait, are you talking about the beta player you got? The beta or the VHS?
No, I got the big round discs. You remember they were as big as like an ancient tablet. They were like the 10 Commandment discs.
The 8 millimeters. You shouldn't talk about those, Crudy. That's not cool, man.
Me and Bob Crane got some videos in the basement. Thank you all for listening today. Thank you to Bill McCoshen for being my fine co-double. Like him or not, he was my co-double in the 4 o'clock hour. Like him or not, he was my co-double in the 5 o'clock hour. Dom, glad to have you back, man. Having fun
Thanks,
with
Rudy.
you on the radio.
For sure.
Felt good to do a 3-hour show once again, like the first 2 hours especially, but then that third hour, we did that as well. So we'll do it again on Monday. Stick around. Native Roots Radio. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to rock with Max Inc. Radio this weekend.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and in the